And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way is sitting down with those designers to play their games, and today that is exactly what we are doing. We're playing The Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain. It's by Ryan, also known as Run DMG in many corners of the internet. It is a Cairn adventure, but Ryan, why don't you tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and The Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain?
So I'm Ryan Mossbarger. I go by Run DMG. There is a significant chance that you've probably seen at least one of my memes on TikTok or Instagram. But I also make adventures. Like, one of the ways I've found to really understand a tabletop RPG is to make an adventure for it. You have to ask yourself a lot of the questions about the mechanics. And that's one of the things I really wanted to do. So I made, when I got really into the Odd and I started playing that, I made an Into the Odd adventure called New Rats and Old Bastion. And then when I found Cairn, like, I don't know, an hour later after finding Into the Odd, I started playing that, and I was like, I love this. I need to make an adventure. And then around that time, the creator of Cairn, and I'm gonna, Yohai, he had a game jam, and I was like, I've told myself I'm gonna start making adventures for this. This is the perfect opportunity. I got 30 days. And I really only had 20 because I was going on vacation with my wife to like Mexico after 20 days. So I really spent hours and hours making this adventure, and I really wanted to make a a love note to my upbringing. I grew up in North Carolina, like way in the mountains, out in a super small town of only a couple thousand people. And it took me 30 minutes to get to town, and I was born in Florida, but I grew up there, and everybody there was so great. And they're often represented so negatively in media, and it drives me wild. So I wanted something that was kind of a love letter that talked a lot about the influences on Appalachian culture. So I did Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain. And for those of you that don't know about Big Rock Candy Mountain, it is a folk song. I am blanking on the singer right now, but there's a couple of different versions of it. But basically, it outlines this like paradise where you don't have to work anymore. There's like lakes full of stew, and all the cops have wooden legs so they can't catch you, and all the dogs have rubber teeth so they can't, when they bite you, it doesn't hurt. It's basically a hobo's song about like the perfect paradise. And I think it was done in like the 40s or 50s. And I wanted to play with that a little bit. I was on another Discord talking about some ideas, and that came to me: Appalachian Inspired Adventure, Big Rock Candy Mountain. How can I make that work? And I wanted to make something slightly horror based. I wanted it to be a little bit off kilter. I wanted it to be a little scary. So I was like, what if that tale of like the perfect paradise wasn't really the tale of a perfect paradise? What if it was started out as like a cautionary tale of like just arcane, eldritch exuberance and excess that's like kind of perverse when you think about it, and then over time, over the years, as they grew away from that, it got perverted and became this myth about a wonderful place. And that was the idea. So I based everything off that. So the basis of this is that a long time ago, there was like the first real civilization in the area was run by these people called the Boss Men, and they made a deal with some eldritch beings, and got really rich. And part of that deal was they had to start mining, and mining is big in Appalachia. So I wanted to bring that in as the basis of like the core conflict way before the characters got there. So there's like some mining stuff in here, and now we're way past that. We're hundreds, if not thousands of years later. And we're kind of the afterglow of that. And I wanted it to be representative of what Appalachia is today. Once coal and mining, the kind of polluting and process leaves, and it kind of leaves everybody worse off after it's gone, like everything begins to stagnate. And then also I brought up another thing in Appalachia that's is that the town that you guys are about to visit used to be like a really nice town until the king dammed up a river to make a lake, which is another thing that happened in Appalachia and affected a lot of people not too far from where I lived. So it cut off a lot of towns, or it destroyed towns outright. And this is like the last surviving town. And they're the only people that have some idea of what Big Rock Big Rock Candy Mountain means, and they have some connection to it. And you all are going to be adventurers who, from far ends of this continent or the globe, have heard tale of this just magnificent adventurer's paradise where you can finally lay down your sword and be happy. You don't have to worry about anything anymore. Food is free, liquor is free. You can do whatever you want, be whatever you want. And so this myth of Big Rock Candy Mountain has become this like a North Star to adventurers that who are just gotten too old and can't do it anymore. So this is going to be their last adventure. Or, you are so desperate and hard up and on the run that you really have no other options left. Basically for the people that just don't have anything left. And it is, I can read, I guess at that point, that's kind of the basic overview.
Cool. Let's meet our other players, go over a couple safety things, and we'll hop in to play also too. Harry McClintock, by the way, 1928, original creator of Big Rock Candy Mountain. I just did that information off the top of my head. I didn't Google it while we were talking. Awesome. Let's meet our other players. Mark, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm Mark Major. I got my he and them. And I've played with Tony a few times. I don't think I've played with the rest of y'all, so looking forward to it. If you want to find me on the internet, I'm not hard to find. mylastname.com.
There we go. Awesome. And then we've got Adame coming back on the stream after a long time. I know you've waited for me to butcher your name for months now. Adam, how's it going?
It's good. Yeah. I'm Adam Bell. I am a game designer as well. Sort of been not underground, just not as online lately. So it's as I told Tony, I'm dusting off the cobwebs and figured I'd hop on a stream, and this seems great.
Awesome. Glad to have you with us as always. Anytime we play here on stream, anytime we play, generally we use a couple different tools to help make sure we stay on track and everybody stays comfortable with the game that we're playing. Those are lines, veils, the X card, and the open door policy. They're the tools we use unless the system we're using dictates otherwise. Lines are things that can't happen during the course of play. They might happen in the world, but they're off limits at the table. We have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion, harm against children, and there was one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head that we had talked about in advance. Does anybody have another line they wanted to add? Not being horrible people, I think, was another one. No gruesome descriptions of torture, which is a little bit more of a veil, which are things that might happen, but they just mention them and move on. Fade to black, move forward, only address them within a certain context. They're things we handle with care. And then we also use the X card, which is the ability to pause at any point in time, identify something that's bothering us, and move forward in a different direction. We might update our lines and veils list as we go. Did anybody have any other lines or veils they wanted to throw out?
I think that's good.
Cool.
Yeah, that covers it.
Go ahead.
I was...
Yeah. The other tool we use is the open door policy, which means we may have to get up, move around, talk to somebody off screen, eat, drink, do all the normal human things that normal-ish humans do. If you're a normal human being, you should take care of yourself while you are watching also, because we certainly will while we're playing. Do you see that happen? It's a normal thing, and we'll just keep on rolling. We'll take a break if everybody needs to go take care of something, but otherwise we'll keep on playing. With that said, Ryan, I'm going to hand things over to you to take us into Appalachia, or the Appalachia-inspired setting in which Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain happens.
All right, so I have a little bit of an intro text that I will read for you. Deep in the mountains, far from any city, it is said to be a paradise unlike any other, filled with magical wonders that would make the most wanderlustful adventurer hang up their hat and retire on the spot. Big Rock Candy Mountain. The journey is perilous and long through brambles, forests, and mountains, well off the beaten path. The trek is usually one of last resort for the old, the tired, the desperate, and the truly foolhardy. Many an old-timer, after a particularly difficult adventure, has bid their companions farewell and told them, I'm going up Big Rock I'm going up Big Rock to settle. Folks say they walk right into the woods, always smiling, never to be heard from again. Whatever your reason to search for Big Rock Candy Mountain, you are close. Nestled in Cowie Valley, in the shadow of a storied peak, you have found a small town, Cairn. From what you have managed to gather, the dying town used to be a robust trading hub before the King's Dam filled most of the valley, killing sister towns and cutting it off from trade roads completely. Folks there talk of Big Rock Candy Mountain not with awe, but with absolute fear. They have been told for generations to stay clear of the mountain and the foul creatures that seep from its cracks into the surrounding seeps from its cracks into the surrounding woods. Regardless, you feel a pull towards the mountain. Your goal is so close, you can almost taste it. Your mind is filled with visions of paradise, and nothing will stop you now that you are so close. So you find yourselves in the town, maybe have just arrived in the town of Cairn. It seems to be almost a little bit of a ruin. The outside of the town, as you first enter, you expect to see a lot of people, but it's almost empty. As you travel through, a lot of the doors are boarded up, a lot of the windows are boarded up, a lot of things seem in disrepair. As you travel more central to the city, you do see a handful of buildings that seem like there are people around, like some signs of life, but you might see the awkward blind lift and look at you as you enter.
Cool. Do you want us to describe our characters? What do you want?
Yes. This would be thank you for that. This would be a great time to describe your character.
I just want to make sure either way is fine. So I'm playing Lyra Thatcher. Just call me Thatch. Formerly I was a smuggler. I'm a towering individual. Actually, let's go she, her. It will be a towering woman with pale skin, filthy hair, and a round face. I speak in a booming manner and wear clothes that certainly mark me as somebody who is from off the continent, from a kingdom far away. I have kind of an aggressive way of moving around the space, kind of leading the charge inwards, and a reputation for being somewhat dangerous. The Thatcher name was fairly well known in my homeland, but it's well documented there that I have been very much disowned by the rest of my family. And so that's a me.
That's a me. Who'd like to go next?
I'll go. I'm playing Elgyle Loomer, he, him, 20 years old, but a former grave digger. Elgyle's kind of scrawny, has rosy skin and frizzy hair, and like a sharp, angular face. And he speaks in a whispery voice, but wears elegant clothing. I've also been abandoned by my former life. I'm deceitful yet tolerant, and generally regarded as a loafer. Probably why.
Cool. And I'm playing Donnie. Donnie comes from the northern reaches of the continent, where the coal was taken to be smelted into steel, and the rivers converge. Which I had the idea for just when you were talking before the stream about doing accents and stuff. I'm just going to be, my character's going to have a Pittsburgh accent because that's what I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
So, it's from Appalachia, not Pittsburgh. So athletic build, but filthy hair, filthy clothes, a broken face. Really took the journey here after being abandoned by the mills and no longer allowed to work there for one reason or another.
All right. You all travel further into town. See, and you come to what may at one time have been quite a nice town square. At the periphery, you see a couple signposts. One of them says Gazzy's General and Specific Goods, right outside of probably one of the better kept buildings in town. You also see a sign for the Pig in the Poke. You see a rather large church just adjacent to where you are, and then there it would say Town Hall on it, also pretty close by. There's a pretty large building, enough that would fit it looks big enough that it could fit an entire town inside of it.
Okay. Cool. What's bigger, the town hall or the church?
They're about the same size. You have to imagine that probably they go from one building to another on certain days completely.
So we just got here. Is that the idea?
Just got here. It seems like if people are in town, they are not interested in being outside right now with you in it.
They're probably afraid of us.
Adventurous.
I assume you all three of you are pretty well armed, and no really telling right now if you're adventurer or bandit.
No, and 100%. I said that out loud in character to the other two.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, and loud enough that anybody nearby would certainly have heard. Actually, I probably look over at one of those slightly open like blinds as I say that also too.
It slaps down and you hear a lock sound.
And we know, like, this is basically where these people will know about how to get to Big Rock, to the actual town we're trying to get to. Is that correct, or is this?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Oh, this is the town that's right next. The closest town to the mountain.
Okay, so this is basically the launching point for where we're trying to go. Cool.
Right.
Well, I guess we could ask at the general store where.
Yeah.
If they know how to get up there, if they know any specific supplies we need, they'll probably be looking to make a buck either way.
That's Pig in the Poke is the general store.
So there's a Gazzy's General and Specific Goods.
Oh, okay. And is Pig in the Poke like a tavern type?
Yeah, you definitely get you hear like the clinking of glasses, and you can get a strong stench of stale ale coming from that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, let's hit up the general store. See what Gazzy's got.
All right.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
Let's go.
Go ahead and split the party if you want to. Straight out the bat. Go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Hit the Pig in the Poke.
I'll go down to Gazzy's, but I think we should go to. If you want information, you got to go to Pig and Poke.
It's so good. God, I love a Yinzer. Why don't you head over there, get us a table. We'll check in with Gazzy's.
Ain't no reason to split up. I just figure it doesn't seem any sense to go to Gazzy's, but I'll come with you. I'm not ruled. I get it. I understand.
When we walk into Gazzy's, I open the door far too hard and it slams.
Oh yeah, it slams. Everything just kind of shakes on the walls. The inside of this home does not match the outside. The outside, looks a little run down, probably needs a new set of paint. This one, it is warm, it is cozy. There are bits and pieces of art hanging. You can hardly see the wooden walls behind the pieces of art and like the little installations they've set up. There's a bunch of tables and things that have a bunch of different knickknacks and things. There's armor just kind of like covering the wall in certain places, almost like presentation style. You see a dark-skinned woman behind the counter, kind of like jump up, like she may have been snoozing a bit. Can I help you?
We are looking for probably some specific supplies.
No, I've got all sorts of specific stuff. Generally, what you're looking for?
Well, no, specifically, we're looking for any equipment that we need to get up the mountain.
Oh, you trying to go up Big Rock?
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck. But I have all sorts of adventure equipment. I find this stuff everywhere. She kind of like points to the wall, and you see. And all of this stuff, as you're taking a closer look, it is not firsthand. It's probably not even secondhand. A lot of this stuff is really worn. It has been obviously well used. And there's something in the back of your mind with the way that she said that, where you're thinking, this is probably from people that have come before and looked and tried to go up the mountain. I find this everywhere. People come into town, they leave, and then locals go out later and they find this stuff and they sell it to me. It's what we call a cyclical business.
It's a great supply chain.
Yeah, once they get up the mountain, they don't need the stuff anymore, so they send it back.
Oh yeah. Oftentimes they definitely don't need it no more.
Yeah. What are the supplies you don't typically get returned?
Well, how would I know that?
Well, because they would go out and not come back. Like, I mean, you sell, like, certainly you have a records book, right? You know what you sell, right?
Records book. And she kind of points to
right. And then you know what comes back down the mountain, but what doesn't come back down the mountain?
What doesn't come back? Good armor, heavy armor doesn't tend to come back the mountain. But I think that's just because the people take it. Good weapons. I almost never get a magical weapon in here. Not that I have any to begin with, but it'd be nice to have one. See something flitter about the room, something to show the kids around town. I guess, is there something you said you had something that you needed?
Well, specifically, I'm looking for what will help us get to the top of the mountain.
Oh.
So if it gets to the top of the mountain, then it doesn't come back down the mountain. So the things that don't come back down the mountain are specifically the kind of things we would need.
Gotcha. We had a lot of crappy weapons come down. A lot of people buy climbing kits and things of that nature, but that's because they don't understand the mountains around here. You can walk up these mountains. It's just all about, what's there when you're walking. Fragile stuff doesn't tend to come back. Shiny things also doesn't tend to come back.
What's there when we're walking? What do you mean by that?
Oh, you got it. If she kind of like you see the mountain over there, right? And she kind of like points to the window, and you can see like this kind of like lone peak. Like that's it. You gotta walk there.
All right, but you said it's not about climbing it. It's about what's there when you're walking. And
yeah.
You said that like there'd be bears or something. Grizzlies.
I forgot. You adventure folk, when you come into town, I don't know where y'all got your story from, but there ain't nothing paradisical about that mountain. It was, all sorts of oogie boogies and weird things come down off of it. You spend a little time in the forest, you see what I'm talking about. Deer don't act normal. The bears, they definitely ain't normal. I'd keep away from spiders or anything. It'd be hard to miss some of the it may be a myth, but I haven't seen one, but I've heard tales on.
What have you seen?
Oh, I've seen something. Just the deer, hunters have a hard time. They call them blood stags. A certain time of the year, they get into the rut, and right before they lose all their felt on their horns, they get a taste for blood, and they want to coat their horns in blood, and it makes it kind of hard to be a hunter in these parts.
You're saying
and the bears,
the local deer taste things through their horns?
I'm not saying they taste it, but they like it on there.
Okay.
You'll see, you'll come across a stag with blood red horns and then a wild look in its eye, and then you'll understand where I'm getting at. And also, our bears are a little different than your normal bear. I'll just leave it at that. It's a little. It's not necessarily the mountain's fault, that one. It might be a little bit our fault, but it is what it is. And there's strange talk of all sorts of things out in them woods. That's why I don't go out there.
Excellent. So generally speaking, you've got a lot of specific goods.
Yes.
But specifically speaking, you don't have anything for sure will be helpful to us.
Well, I would think some solid armor would do you well. A good weapon if you don't already have one. Probably, like a lantern, when it gets dark, maybe a tent, so you have some place to stay when it starts to rain. There's something to sleep on, something to eat. I got lots of food. And she kind of points out, like, the majority of this store is like a grocery. You see tons of fresh produce, corn, apples, tomatoes, that sort of thing. You also see a little section where she has like fresh hand pies that she's just fried. And it smells, honestly. But
I don't think we can not leave this place without a ham pie. Like, you got to get a ham pie when you go in,
But once you get past the smell of rust on all the stuff on the walls, like, it smells great in here. It smells like a cinnamony apple.
I'm gonna get a hand pie and snack on it while I look for a more substantial weapon than the dagger I came into town with.
No, like, you take a bite. She kind of like just nods at you as you take it, and you take a bite, and it's perfect. It's everything you want it to be. It's definitely not healthy. It is definitely fried in lard. There is like a little salty. It's sweet, and it's like you instantly want to finish it the second you take a first bite.
What I'm hearing is there's no processed ingredients in this, and that's a kind of healthy. You know what I'm saying?
Butter, lard, sugar, and apples.
We call that Amish healthy here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look around to see if I can find a more substantial and in decent condition weapon of item of damage.
So when it comes to weaponry in this store, she basically has anything off of the regular Cairn list. Let me see if I can open that real quick.
I can do that, and I'll let you know.
But she has basically all of the weapons. She has some armor, but you can definitely find a lot of the baseline stuff. It's when you start getting into specific things, like if you want an air bladder, she may or may not have it. You have to ask. So how this works is there's a 50-50 shot that she has something specific, but she has pretty much everything generally that's on here.
But maybe not
like incense. Probably doesn't have it, but she might.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking at my commerce. Any of y'all want to look at your commerce?
Yeah.
I'll just
I would like to grab one of them pies as well.
Grab a pie.
I have a lot to.
I think what Cairn uses silver, so they're all just like she'd be like, if all y'all want a ham pie, I'll take a silver, not each, but just collectively.
I was going to haggle into that either way, so that's good to know.
How much is a silver to a gold?
We all have gold on our
pieces,
sheet.
I think gold is standard.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking silver in terms of end of the odd. That's my bad.
Yep.
No, gold. So one gold, you all can get a ham pie.
Yeah.
Cool.
In the 10th, how much is a?
That's a great question.
I didn't even think about rain, so that's a really good idea.
Cairn list says 20.
Yes, it fits 2 people and it's considered bulky. There's also torch. She also has obvious things that are out. Torches. There's some shovels, sacks, saws. There is a tent or two. You see a couple of bags, some picks, poles, bed rolls, things like that.
I'm gonna grab myself a saw as well.
You can go ahead and just mark that off on your sheet. It's all the same regular price as in the book. There's no.
You said 20 for a tent. I can't do that. Never
Yes,
mind.
it's.
That's like it.
A little bit of rain ain't too bad.
Yeah.
Unless you got a
what about a tarp? What about just a tarp? And so
she sees you kind of like waffling on the tent. It's like, it's used. So I mean, I could potentially make a deal with you, but I do want something in return.
What?
Oh, she's waiting. She's kind of like an awkward pause as she's kind of like thinking about something. So, we don't get mail too often out here, but we do get it regular. But the last 2 months, I haven't got no mail, and I got kids and grandchildren way down south, and it takes a while, but it doesn't take this long, and they've never missed a beat. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe my mail carrier. It's dangerous out in the woods, and you gotta walk, and they don't get paid much. So I'm hoping that he's okay. He's just stuck somewhere. But if you could go out in the woods and maybe check on him and see if you can find anything about him, I'd appreciate that. If you come back with any clue, just if you say you'll look, I'll knock it down to 10 gold.
I'll look.
Next time you're in
town.
Next time you're in town, I'm gonna go bug you about it. So you gotta tell me something, or at least make it seem like you've done something.
My eyes will be as open as they can get the whole time. Mailman, that kind of thing.
All right, good. I appreciate that. And y'all, I'm assuming very new to the area. Do you have any idea about anything that's out there or anything that's in town?
This is literally the first place we stopped.
All right. So there's I mean, not quite any tourist attractions in town, but there are a few things in town. Of course, there's my fine establishment. There is, if you're looking for a place to stay the evening, or you're looking for more of like a hot meal besides a ham pie, the Pig and the Poke, run by Daryl. He's an elf. Great fella. Him and his wife run that. And it does a pretty good job. I enjoy the food. A lot of people in town enjoy the food. And if you're looking for a drink, you're looking for, well, I don't know about friendly, but for you, maybe not friendly, but for me, I find it friendly. A couple of drinks. It's a nice place to be. You're also a bit of a gossip. So if you want to get like the lowdown on something, she kind of gets in close, like, yeah, he has a hard time keeping his mouth shut. Bless his heart. There's a chapel. You want to talk to Reverend Hughes. Reverend Hughes, he's what we got. He's okay. It's not bad. The town hall, it's just down the way. She kind of points. I'm sure Waylon and the aldermen are there. You can talk to them. They might have something for you, or maybe some idea of what to do in town. I'd probably stay clear of the sheriff and the Gowl. I'm not a big fan of Buford, but he gets the job done, I suppose, in a way. And of course, there's the LaPlante sawmill. They might have something for you. They also have a lot of the lumberjacks and whatnot go out in the woods, so maybe they got some gossip. As far as outside of town, I don't know much. Pretty close, there's Pumpkin Town. It's not really a town. It's more like a ruin, but there's some people that live out there. And I guess, yeah, I mean, I feel like we're very secluded people. There ain't a lot of people coming out here. People come out here are people like you looking to get killed on that mountain. So we don't get a lot of visitors, not a lot of tourism. But for some people, this is considered big city living. Some people prefer something a little even more, secluded. They have some stuff for sale. They might be willing to barter, but their system's a little trust based. It's more, have you ever been to one of those? You ever been to a farm where they put out all the produce and they have a little box you're supposed to put the money in? Mm-hmm. Kind of like that deal. But they also search the woods, and whatever they find, they put for sale. If you're feeling like you want to do something kind of weird, Nana's shack is out in the woods, but it's pretty far. She kind of looks around. She's like, she's a wood witch. I wouldn't tell Reverend Hughes about it. But people go to her from time to time. Other than that, I don't know much past that. Like I said, I don't leave this town. It's dangerous out there.
Well, we appreciate it. He'll certainly keep you up to date on the mailman.
Oh yeah.
Trustworthy.
If you come back to town, he's like, if you come back to town,
when? Well, if
maybe we'll make it up the mountain.
Maybe it's just beautiful up there. I never come back down.
Yeah, if you make it back to town, I'll ask you about it, and you got to at least convince me that you're doing something about it. If not, I'll probably just get the tent back in a couple of weeks. So, I mean, worst case scenario is more of a, like I said, circular trade.
I guess we finish up our commerce. And do it head to the Pig and the Poke now?
Yeah, let's head over to the Pig and the Poke.
All right, you make the short walk across the town square. Hot, smoky, and sticky.
As we come out,
Mhm.
has anything changed, or is everybody still kind of hiding?
You see, it's definitely calmed down. There wasn't like sounds of battle inside of Gazzy's, so you can see a few of the windows are open, and there's a couple of people like poking their head out, trying to figure out what you can see that they're kind of sure that you're probably not bad news, but who's to say? Adventurers, flip on a dime. Yeah. So
they're not looking to interact with us, but they aren't now immediately afraid of us.
They're keeping a healthy distance until they know a little bit more, it seems like.
Hey, everybody, all is well. Ain't nothing to be concerned about.
Don't worry, we won't murder you.
Everything's fine. Out of your asses.
Yeah, head into the Pig and the Poke.
All right, it is hot, smoky, and sticky. It smells of hot stew and stale beer. Chairs you can like the second you open up the door, everybody kind of like turns around. You can hear all the creaking of every single chair in the room in unison. And it's kind of hard to ignore the stares from everybody as they're just kind of like mid sip or mid eat. They're like just staring at you. You see an elven gentleman behind the bar trying his best to get some smudges out of a glass, but evidently they are quite stubborn.
Are there any people who have the bearing of a lumberjack crew in here?
Ooh, it's a great question. Let me roll for that. Yeah, there are, and it's classic lumberjack garb. They even have their axes next to them, but there's a lot of flannel, a lot of blue jeans over there, and they are deep into like snarfing down food, and in between like bites, like drinking down like you'd assume it to be beer or some other kind of alcoholic beverage. And you see like another bottle with some shot glasses around it as well. They are getting their money's worth.
What did she say the bartender's name was? The elf?
Daryl.
Daryl
the elf. Classic elven name.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna love his last name.
Yeah, I'd like to head up to the bar and just say, Daryl, your stew comes highly recommended.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, y'all, I'm assuming is new to town.
Just came in.
All right. Well, are y'all looking for a place to stay? He kind of, you can see his like hands kind of let go up, kind of like trying to calm everybody down. It's like, are y'all looking for a place to stay, or are you just coming through?
A hot meal would be a good start.
Well, I can do a hot meal for you. If you're looking for, I could probably do 1 gold for all of you, and I'll even let you stay here the night if you wish.
All right. I'll slide over a gold. This round's on me.
All right. You looking for, I got beer, and of the beers I have ale, and it's all just ale basically. And then if you're looking for something harder, we got whiskey.
What do you like?
I mean, I kind of like both.
Yeah.
You do one
both.
each.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. Turns around, there's like a big old boiling pot of stew. You can see there's some like bread and stuff. He kind of like, mashed potatoes, some stew, big old thing of bread on there, and then you basically get a pint and a shot. Feel in good health, and he takes a shot himself.
I'd turn and look at Adam, what is your character's name? Donnie?
What was yours again, Tony? I wrote Elgyle, but
Lyra.
Thatch.
And so Lyra, but everybody calls me Thatch. Also, Adam, you're a little quiet too. If you want to just boost your gain.
If you could just slightly scream in the microphone.
So Donnie, we could go out and look for that mailman, but if these lumberjacks are out in the woods every day, it probably doesn't hurt to just ask them if they've heard anything.
I think that counts for our looking for him today if we ask somebody.
Yeah. We can always look in the future if they haven't, but
She said if we come back to town. So once we're in town, we don't have to really look.
That's true.
The pump.
Getting one look ahead though isn't going to hurt anything.
That's a good point.
As you're talking about going to the lumberjacks, like, he kind of comes in, like, I'd be careful around the lumberjacks. They spend a lot of time out in the wild. They're a little rough on the edges. So, make sure they finish the meal, maybe have another drink before you try to, or he kind of like looks at the bags like, or you could bring some drinks, and that might grease the skids a little bit. But he kind of looks at them like voraciously eating their stew. He's like, I'd hate to get between them and a hot meal. They ain't been eating hot meals in a minute.
Yeah, I used to work in the mills. I'm used to rough edges.
Oh, okay.
It don't bother me much.
Oh, so you do a lot of exploring out in the woods, finding nice old growth.
Pardon?
You said you worked in the mill, right?
Yes, I worked in the steel mill.
Oh, the steel mill. Oh,
way up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the wood mill over here. It's like I had never seen you before.
Oh no, I ain't from around here. I never been here before. It's a nice town. And great stew.
Oh yeah, no stew, excellent. I've been brewing this stew for about 20 years now. Ain't never changed the pot.
Couple years away from it getting real good.
Yeah, I'm working up towards it.
I love an infinity stew. Are there any empty chairs at their table, or is it full up?
I'd say there's probably at least one empty chair, but there's definitely room. Like I'd say there's let me roll for it. I mean, it's D4. There are 4, but there's spots for 2 other people, and you can definitely pull up other chairs.
I'm just gonna plumb my big thing of food down and my beer down at the table with the lumberjacks, and I'm not even gonna talk to them. I'm just gonna start digging in just like they are.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they do not slow down. They like eye you and then see that you're eating too, and like keeping an eye on you, but still like shoveling in.
Yeah, I'll plop down as well.
Yeah, I'll plop down the other side there too.
As I plop down, I put the shot of whiskey into the beer, like the whole shot glass, Boilermaker style.
Yeah, Boilermaker. Yeah.
Mhm.
They seem impressed by this. This is a delivery method they have not seen before. They all kind of like look at you as you do that and are like, what the hell? And then see you drink and like, oh. And then like one of them like does the same thing and drinks it down. And he kind of like looks at all of them and is like,
I do that, but I also I tip some stew in there also too, and I just chug it all.
They all kind of, there is like, they look almost slightly offended, but that same guy that tried the Boilermaker puts a little bit of stew in his next one and then tries it and immmitely like,
yeah, it's not good. It's not good at all. And so
he shakes his head. No,
it's just efficient.
After all of this, like the what maybe assume is like their leader finishes his last like spoonful of stew, kind of like pushes the bowl back. What do y'all want? I mean, that whiskey beer doodad was a fancy little gambit. I'm gonna have to use that again, but I'm assuming y'all want something. Y'all have the look of troublemaker on you.
Hey, it's nothing we want from you lot, of course. We wanted to go up the mountain. That's a whole separate thing. It's got nothing to do with it.
I bet you do, buddy. I told you they was adventures. God, I called it. Everybody thinks it's bandits these days, but it's always adventurers coming up here to get killed.
No, we ain't come to get killed, any.
We're not looking to get killed.
That's certainly not the plan.
If you're looking to get up that mountain, you're looking to get killed, boy. I'll tell you.
I think we can make it. But so the only thing we might want from you, hey, you seen the postman?
I ain't seen the postman in a hot minute.
All right. That's all. Other than that, just want to have a nice time out here.
Oh, you want to have a nice town? I mean, if you want to have a nice town and pig in the poke, get a couple more beers, we can have a nice time. But if you're going up that mountain, it's going to be short-lived as hell.
Well, if that's the case, then show us a great last night of our lives.
All right, you heard him. Let's do this. Hey, Daryl, Earnhardt, let's go. Get a couple more of these. Kind of like points to the points to the thing, and there's some more beers are served. They have a couple more drinks. The booze is flowing. They're definitely getting a lot more comfortable with y'all. So why y'all want to go up on that mountain anyway?
We hear that it's a wonderful place to retire.
It's a bad place to die. I've been pretty close there before. We're going all over to get old growth, to get real nice stuff to sell, and bring up north. But I mean, it's dangerous out there. You know, all sorts of ant creatures, man, just creatures everywhere. I mean, there's some cool stuff out there. You know, occasional ruin. See some burnout like metal husk stuff. Nana Shack. You know, you can go see Nana every once in a while. You might find, she usually has something cool to do. But I gotta say, if there's paradise up there, I don't know if it's our version of it. You seen what crawls out of that place?
I mean, is there a good place to die?
Oh hell yeah! In your bed with a tummy full and a woman right next to you. Well, for me at least, that could be that's versatile depending on your predilections.
Well, I mean, I guess we're all gonna die sometime.
Well, that's true. I just prefer it to be a lot later. Just be careful out there. I don't know how much you know. Deer are not friendly, especially this time of year. The bears, if you're going out in the woods, they say you should put like rattlers on you or bells to make the bears like wary of you. Don't do that. Our bears are built different. What you should do, it's kind of a double-edged thing. If you carry some whiskey with you, it can be like a double-edged sword because they can bring them to you. But if you throw it off, they'll chase it. Our bears are mighty weird. They're called thunder bears. That's what we call them around here.
And they like whiskey.
Oh yeah, so there used to be stills all up over here back in the day, and them bears used to get in the mash, and they used to eat and drink and eat and drink. And now it's kind of like part of them. It's kind of all they do. So they're either in a drunken stupor or they're in a alcohol-induced rage. It's one or the other, And if you got a little whiskey on you, you can distract them. If you don't, better find some whiskey or get going or try your best. I mean, they like to tussle, so
Okay.
they ain't too friendly. There is a I'd be careful if you see a lot of smoke coming towards your way. It ain't fog. It's different. It'll smell like tobacco. Go the other direction. It ain't necessarily good for you.
Oh.
People talk about them cigarette trees like they're some, great thing, but if you see the amount of skulls near them, you probably think a little different.
Okay.
So here's the thing. As soon as we got to this town, everybody's telling us that this mountain is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Away from the town, as far reaching as anybody can get it, you hear stories of paradise. So those stories got to come from somewhere, right? What do you think it is that brings us here? Is it?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I'm gonna be honest. You ain't the first ones we talked to. You ain't the first ones I seen. But y'all seem like y'all's drive to go to this place. I've tried to stop an adventure. I physically restrained one of y'all from trying to get up there. Obviously wasn't gonna make it by himself. Didn't even have no arms or armor, nothing. And fought. If I had to let him go, it's like something's up in here. It's like y'all got something large deep up in there. I don't get it. But then again, maybe I'm not that desperate. Maybe that's what it is.
That was a really good job of not answering the question.
I mean, if you're asking why we have a certain way of saying things here, it's a bad place. I mean, word travels. I mean, all my stories as a kid, it was a bad place. It's where really bad, evil people used to do really bad, evil things. And then, true heroes rose up and smashed them to bits. And then we all, were saved and we started our own thing. And we're supposed to avoid there. And I mean, it's kind of reinforced every once in a while when something weird, sloughs off that mountain and comes down here and try to hurt people. But then again, a lot of y'all folk, outsiders, when y'all come here, you go up that mountain, you don't come back. You don't take your horrid story of, murder with you. It's just on us and we don't leave you.
All right. Well, can't much say that it makes sense, but I mean, it doesn't sound like there's anything particularly sinister afoot either.
I mean, I guess you'll find out now. Maybe I'm full of it. Maybe there's a commune of old adventurers up there having fun and eating stew, just like us right here, for free even. And then you hear Daryl it's kind of like yell from the background. Yeah, it is kind of free. Your tab is. We got to talk about that later. Like, yeah. No, I get you. Eventually, Daryl. Eventually.
Mark, you got anything?
Nah, I'm good to go. Let's party and then head out in the morning.
Yeah.
All right. The partying continues all through the night. More drinks are spilled. I'll say from having such a raucous good time, you can get. This is something I like to do for like Into the Odd and Cairn. You can get D4 temporary hit points. You can just roll it, and it's like a little bit extra of your hit protection.
You're gonna die, but let's slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
So we go in the morning. Is there anywhere about town people really want to head? I know my character has been talking a lot as y'all were getting ready to go out about Pumpkin Town. Was it Pumpkin Town?
Yeah, Pumpkin Town is the next nearest little landmark in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
I want to visit Pumpkin Town on the way up.
Yeah, I'm 100% for that.
Yeah, the only place that I would, if I was in charge, we'd go right to Nana's Shack.
Nana Shack.
And then right to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Those are my
Nana's
two
Shack was
spots.
on my list also too, but it sounded like it was further out.
It is. Yeah.
Is there a route that takes us to Nana's Shack via Pumpkin Town, or are they like different directions from each other?
They're in the same general direction, but Pumpkin Town is much closer.
Yeah.
Let's head out towards Nana's Shack via Pumpkin Town. See how far we make it today.
All right, cool. You guys head out, and we're gonna say this is nice and early in the morning, and then we're going to roll a bunch of stuff. So the first thing that you encounter as you 10, 15, 20 minutes as you exit town, you kind of enter into the first hex of this adventure. You encounter a bit of a weird sight. It's very forested. The trees are pretty thick. If you come to a little clearing, and your first thought, it's like, oh, well, like there's a lot of red flowers out here, but it's not. And as you approach, they're kind of like shiny, and as you can see that they are wet. They seem to be wet with blood. You see this ritual. You see this ritual circle and all these weird iconographies around it. You don't see any bodies. You don't see anybody that could have done this, but in this small clearing, there's just this bloody circle. It seems to be some ritual of some kind.
Is there any evidence of the ritual besides the blood?
Make a whiz save?
Will?
Or will, yeah.
Will. All right. Let's see. On a D20. I got an 8. 15.
So you rolled a 15?
I rolled an 8 under 15.
Oh, yeah, so you're good. All right. You kind of kneel down and you're plying your mind for all the things that you've seen before. So the clues that you find, this is like haphazard. This is not a master of the craft. This was done like very quickly and very sloppily. And you get an inkling that this kind of thing is, you've not seen the iconography before, but you're getting from the gestalt of it all that this is like for communication of some kind. This is one person talking to another, but it's like old magic, blood magic. Like this is weird. And you see little driplets going off into the edge of the wood, and you follow it, and you see what looks to be another adventurer. I mean, not dressed too dissimilar from all of you. Hands covered in blood, their own blood seemingly. And it seems like, I mean, from judging from it, it seems like they were the one that drew this, but they took too much. And they are toast. They do have some gear on them. Let me roll for it real quick.
So this was ritual self-sacrifice. This was somebody trying to communicate over a long.
Yeah. So what you get is that it ended up being a self-sacrifice, but it was done so sloppily. Like you can see, they didn't have like a nice ceremonial dagger or something like. They used their sword and they cut way too deep and way too much, and probably finished it. Maybe did whatever they wanted to do for a short period of time, but it wasn't very long. All right, let me roll for what good stuff they have. So on their person, I mean, you find clothes and things like that, and of course they have a sword. They do, in their chest pocket and like a little hidden little space in their pocket, you find a vial of poison.
Ooh,
it does D20 strength damage.
Nice.
Which I think is the standard. So every time you go into a hex, there is the event that happens if an event happens, but you can also search the nearby forest. It does take an hour, but you don't have to do that if you don't like.
I mean, I think we're generally keeping an eye out for the mailman, but I don't think we're exhaustively searching for the mailman.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So are you going to search or are you not going to search?
I think not
not search. All right. You're going to keep on skipping through.
I'm assuming there's no half search option. So
casually search.
You keep an eye out, like your eyes are open, but you're not actually going to like spread out in the hex. You take on to the next hex. You roll for it. So you find a vacant adventure. I mean, you find a vacant adventure campsite. It looks like there is a little stone circle with some smoldering embers still left. You see a tent. You see a bedroll. It's empty. You get the idea that this may have been that other adventurer's campsite. I mean, there's a chance. I mean, it'd be kind of serendipitous, but there is a chance. In the distance, you hear like the clacking of horn against horn. And you see two blood stags, and they're very obviously blood stags, like coming at each other, like tussling and sparring with each other. You can see like their horns are red, but that doesn't catch your eye. It's the fresh flesh that seems to decorate the corners and sides of it. They don't seem to have noticed you yet.
I like the advice that we got for avoiding those.
Yeah, that sounds
I
good.
say we either gotta steer as far clear, or we have to enter this fray while they're fighting each other and take them both down, just for our own safety.
For our own safety.
That's not a bad idea. I mean, you know, one should take care of the other, and it'll probably be tired or wounded by that point in time.
Up to you.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Let's watch what happens.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So you're gonna watch what happens. They continue to spar with each other. Before too long, one of them gets the upper hand and just straight up spears through. Like the other one kind of throws it to the side, sides exposed. It bucks up, jutting its horns into the other stag's rib cage, flails a little bit, and the other one just kind of like drops down. If not dead, very close to dead. And it starts to just kind of like rip its horns through, coating its horns in a fresh flesh and blood. And then kind of like, after it does that, it kind of, makes this weird kind of like shrill cry. I'm not going to try. And
come on.
No, I can't do a deer call. But it then kind of like sniffs up, kind of like looking around. It hasn't spotted you yet, but it does seem to be aware of your presence.
I'm gonna try to throw a rock to the other side of like the clearing area to make some noise on the other side.
Okay, yeah, you do that. I mean, you don't have to roll or anything for it. And it kind of like its head like immediately and its whole body tenses and its head jerks to the side, and it kind of like gets into a defensive pose, but it is pointing the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm gonna rush out at it afterwards.
All right. Will say that so initiative is a little funky in Cairn. So you all need to roll dex saves, except I'll say for you, Tony, because you're like rushing out. So you'll get to attack first. But if you guys want to make a quick dex save, and if you succeed your dex save, you get to go before the blood stag.
Is making it meeting or under or just under?
It's meeting it or under, I believe.
Then I made it.
I sure didn't.
Okay. So Adam, you will go after the blood if the blood stag is still living. But Tony, Thatch runs up on this blood stag, and you get an attack.
Sword drawn. Yeah, I rolled a 3 under 13 for strength, so I hit.
So I think for Cairn, you just do damage.
You just do.
Right.
That's right. It's just damage rolls in Cairn.
Yeah.
And so that's a 10. Oh wait, no, that's a D8. Sorry, hold on. 7 out of 8 damage.
Okay, yes. I mean, they're ferocious, but they don't have a ton of health, so I need to roll a strength save. And it fails. It was a solid blow. It's not dead, but it is definitely unconscious right now. It'd be very easy to finish it off. But yeah, you come up behind it and just swipe down, cleaving its like lower haunches completely off, catching it completely unaware. It lets out this like gallowous call and just flops to the side. It starts to breathe very heavy.
I'll roll up, and I have a mace, and I'll just cave its head in, I guess.
All right, yeah, you finish it off.
All
All right,
that'll definitely do it.
Oh yeah, that definitely does it. That is the killing blow. Yeah, you've conquered my blood
What
stag.
brave adventurers we are.
As
Let's
you
see
get a
what
good
blood venison tastes like.
Yeah, so there are 2 dead stags in front of you. You can use them for food or anything like that if you want. You can collect their horns. It's really up to you and your imagination what you want to do with them. You can also just leave them.
I mean, when we were back in the city, did anybody seem to care about blood stag horns? Like, was there like a decorative blood stag horn chandelier in the bar?
You definitely saw like hunting trophies a lot of places. In Gazzy's and in Poke and the Pig or Pig and the Poke, you saw like hunting trophies. You saw deer heads or antlers everywhere. Antler is definitely part of like I mean, I remember somebody saying that like antler and horn was like the plastics of the old ages.
Yeah.
So they're used in a lot of things for sure.
So they have value,
Probably
but they're not especially like,
they're not like magical or anything like that.
Necessarily like how. Yeah. No, I mean, I think extending our rations is probably a good way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You spend the next little while, like, dressing the meat. You guys have general knowledge how to do that. And I'll say that you have a couple of days, we'll say 3 or 4 days worth of rations, easy, from the meat that you take. You take basically like the prime cuts. You're not too worried about like taking every last bit off this animal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say between the 3 of you, you have like an additional 3 days of rations, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Would you guys like to check around or search this hex or move on?
Move on, yeah.
Yeah,
let's move on until we get the pumpkin.
Yeah,
Surely
we gotta get to Pumpkin Town.
Yeah.
If the
All right.
postal man is between here and Pumpkin Town, somebody's found him already.
We
It's
got
not on us.
Well, you're in luck because the next hex is Pumpkin Town.
Oh my gosh,
Hey,
everything we've ever dreamed of.
Exactly.
This is it. This is it. This is paradise.
This is it. Let's see, Pumpkin Town. All right, Pumpkin Town. It has as you kind of clear the forest, there's not even so much of a clearing. I don't know if any of you guys have a lot of experience going in like decrepit buildings in like the mountains. It's not even so much a clearing. The woods is just going through it. There's just slightly less trees than outside of it. There's an ancient, eerie, and quiet feeling about this. It smells pleasantly of fallen leaves and rotting wood. Your footsteps, no matter how carefully you tread, seem to crunch heavily onto dried leaves and twigs. It is an old stone abandoned encampment of some kind, a settlement, very old, in the middle of the woods. And there is a couple of structures here and there, but everything is almost and completely encompassed in like kudzu and trees. It'd be hard to believe that people actually live out here. It is a little weird. And as you spend a little time like walking towards it and looking, there is this overwhelming feeling of being watched. You just the hairs on the back of your neck just begin to like tingle up, and the hair on your arms. Like every time you hear like a twig snap in the distance, you just reflexively look, thinking that you're going to catch somebody that's watching you.
We came out for the pumpkins.
Just echoes. It's a strange echo too.
Hang on, no, not like that. We're not here to hurt you or anything like that. It's
The urchins. I love that.
we just came to Pumpkin Town. We're not. Hello, we feel you watching. That's all. So I mean,
yeah, I assumed there would be ground gourds. I mean, I guess all gourds kind of grow on the ground. That's kind of a default situation, but. Yeah, when I said pumpkins, I meant the vegetable, not the people.
The silence. You turn a corner around this stone structure, and you see a stand set up, and crudely drawn in like red letters, it says "Honor System." And you see a couple of pumpkins on there. You see a couple of jugs of what looks to be like whiskey. There's like the comical like 3 X's or whatever on them. And then I got to roll for some random items. So there's 3 random items. Only got to check. You see a large trap, like a rusty large like hunting trap. You see a big old pot of what looks to be oil. And then you see a long length of chain on the stand as well. And of course, there's like a little box in there off to the side with a little slit where you can put your gold.
I mean, are there price tags on everything, or is it just like is it like take a gourd, leave a gold?
There is, so under the gourd, under everything is the price. So for a gourd, if you want a pumpkin, it is a gold and they're huge pumpkins. They're easily the like 15, 20 pound pumpkins. And then underneath the chain and all that, it is the listed price from the hand guide. So for the large trap, it's 20 gold. For the chain, it's 10 gold. And then for the fire oil, it is also 10 gold.
What about for the moonshine?
Yeah.
The moonshine is 10 gold each.
Oh.
And the thing that this is maybe something I just mentioned before. Whiskey functions as a secondary currency in this place, so it's something that you can pick up and easily transfer to and trade as any for like services or other goods.
Cool. There
is no like loss involved with whiskey.
You gotta wonder, is it pumpkin whiskey? That's what you gotta ask yourself.
Gotta wonder.
You go up, take a little sip before buying it.
You could go up and see.
I'm gonna go up and pop the cork off that moonshine and give it a big old sniff.
There is like an almost pumpkin-y fragrance that comes from it.
Pumpkin spice whiskey.
Yeah, I was gonna say pumpkin spice whiskey.
Get it.
It's honestly like it smells very nice.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean,
can't afford it, but
that's the smell of fall. You're right there. Yeah, I can't afford none of this, y'all.
I mean, we could pay on the way back.
Yeah, maybe find something. Other things, like as you're kind of pondering how you would pay for any of this stuff, you look around and you see that there is what looks to be like a watchtower, maybe 20 or 30 feet away from you. It was kind of hidden by a tree before. And then past this, the stand, you see looks to be like a bit of a mural, but it's very damaged.
Yeah, I think if it's on the honor system, then technically it just means like if we honorably intend to pay it back, is that enough is the question.
I mean,
one way to find out.
Yeah, I feel like that's honorable, right?
If they didn't think that was all right, they'd be here selling it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and we could even put a deposit down.
Mm-mm.
And
no,
if
I'll just like put my hands up, like look around, like we're gonna pay for this on the way back, so we're just gonna take some
honor system.
That's not okay. You let us know before we leave, and grab a jug of pumpkin whiskey.
All right.
I'll also grab a jug. I'll put the 2 gold that I have remaining into the bin. Yeah, I'm starting my layaway payment.
Yeah,
a total of 12 for this over the course of however long it takes me to get 12 gold. But
all right,
maybe there's probably nothing. No, I can't write. Never mind. Decided.
Is there anything else you guys would like to do while you're here?
No, they both did the dumb thing, so I won't.
Check out the mural as well.
Yeah, I think we'll make our way over to the mural.
Yeah.
All right. So the mural is just behind the stand, maybe like 5-10 feet. It's faded and damaged with possibly decades, if not hundreds of years of abuse. But it shows what looks to be some kind of like victory celebration. It's a bunch of people celebrating an army. I mean, you can tell because there's like pitchforks and spears and swords, and they're burning something. But the only words that are left on the very top of it, everything else is kind of like damaged beyond visible. It just says workers. And as you're over here, the watchtower also is in view. It seems to be attached. It's attached to the remnants of what a wall that seems to be around this entire encampment. I mean, most of the wall has been destroyed at this point. The battlements, though, they face inward as well as outward. It's not, most castles and stuff that you guys have experienced. The battlements and the defensive stuff is to where the enemy is faced, not necessarily to the inside of the castle, because that's just a waste of resources. Yeah. So that's a little strange. That catches you as strange.
Well, are the stairs or an entry point visible?
Yeah, you can still walk up it. There was probably at one time a gate or a door, but it is long gone.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it seems we can get a look kind of over towards is Nana's hut,
Yeah,
and see if we can see what's out that direction.
Yeah, get a lay of the land.
You go inside, and the inside of this is covered with graffiti. Not necessarily like paints. There is some paint here and there, but it's a lot of scratching and scritches. Overlaid and overlaid and overlaid. It's hard to decipher anything specific. You could try if you wanted to, but as you travel up the stairs, it goes up maybe about 30 feet. It's relatively, I mean, you're kind of confused by this watchtower. It's not really made out of like cobblestone and mortar. It seems to be completely made out of cement, which is kind of a rare resource this day and age. And the fact that this is ancient leads you to believe maybe there was something to that like old civilization myth that some of the people said, that old people that they got crushed. I mean, they seem to have some resources. You get up to the top, and it gives you a bit of a heads up. You can see over a good chunk of the trees, and as you look west to where you were kind of hinted that Nana's hut was, you see a lot of forest. But in the distance, I'll just be frank with you, like 3 or 4 hexes away, you can see a little plume of smoke coming up from a couple of the trees. Just a single lonely little white plume. You're pretty sure that must be where Nana is.
Okay. That's exactly the type of information I was looking for.
Yep.
Now that we're up here also too, I go to like the interior battlements, right? Like, does it, like, is there a way, like, I mean, like, obviously there's there's the new growth that's overtaken this place, right, as in contrast to the old growth that surrounds it. Can we get a sense of what the layout of Pumpkin Town used to be like a little bit more from this height?
Yes, you can. It wasn't very big. You would say that it was definitely smaller than Cairn in terms of like spread, but the buildings are rectangular, and you can assume probably a bit taller, at least 3 or 4 stories. It looks, as you look at this, it reminds you of something. You probably have spent some time in like a jail or a prison. It
was 100% what I as a player was like, did this used to be a prison?
Same.
There's like something that tickles the back of your head, like, this looks exactly like a prison. And as you get the view, you kind of see where all the other guard towers were kind of like fell over and kind of like sunk into the ground, and things grew over them. This looks like, if not a holding area, a prison.
Okay.
Maybe at some point turned into something else, but it looks like a prison.
Okay. Interesting. That's great. We keep on going towards this mode.
All right.
It's a weird time.
Yeah. You move on to the next one, the next hex. Where'd my dice go? You find there is a big opening in the trees, and you come into a wildflower grove. Blues, yellows, purples, a couple of reds, but not too many. It's really beautiful. And then we're going to go. You actually see a elderly hunched woman going through some of the wildflowers and picking some of them. She seems to be focusing on the stranger looking ones. You might recognize some of them as herbs, like there's wild. I'm not an herb person, but you see, you see different wild herbs.
Let me open my copy of the Herbalist Primer, and we will pull some.
I'm bad with herbs, but various herbs, and some flowers, but not a lot of flowers.
Awesome. I'll call out to her, like, you need any help?
Okay. It's hard being bent over like this for so long. Come. And as she faces you, her appearance is not quite what you imagined for an old woman. Like her fingers are like a little bit longer than you think they would be. Her eyes are like a little bit larger, and you were thinking that she was wearing like a cloak, but it seems to be interwoven like kudzu that she is wearing.
Are you Nana?
Oh, you've heard of me. Yes, I'm Nana. I guess my reputation speaks, is out there. I feel so embarrassed. I don't even know who you are.
So we're heading up the mountain, and we decided to stop and pay you a visit on the way.
Oh, you come to visit. That's so nice. I do get visitors every once in a while, and I always appreciate it. Did you need something, dearie?
Nothing in particular. If you have any warnings or anything we need to know going up the mountain, that would be appreciated.
Oh, well, I suppose I do a bit of soothsaying in my off time. Soothsayer, healer. People come to me with their ailments, or if they have big questions they want answered. I've lived out here all my life. I could probably give you a hint or two. Anything specific you want to know about?
Big question. Do you know any shortcuts, like just to like, is there like a, hey, everybody usually takes this road and they all get killed, but there's this secret back road that is just real easy to do, or way harder, but also quicker?
That's the 100 gold question, isn't it? There is. If you're looking, if there, I just mean that's the real money question right there. You cut to the quick of it. That's a great question. There is most of your kind, you adventurers from far off, they try to go straight up the mountain, or they try to go through the mine. Going up straight up the mountain is quite difficult. You have to, it's pretty steep. Going through the mine is the most reasonable way of the two. But most people forget that there is a third way. Although, to say it's easy, hard to say. Quicker, yes. But there used to be, and she kind of points out in the distance, and strangely, you did not see this before, but it's almost like the trees move out of the way. In the far, far distance, probably it would be to the northeast, like past Rock Candy, like to the side of Big Rock Candy Mountain. There is this huge, maybe 100-foot tower that becomes very clear to your vision. And there is this wire that goes between Big Rock Candy Mountain and this tower. Back in the day, way back in the day, folks used to use that to get up and down the mountain. Though I don't know if it still works. And if it doesn't work, she kind of like stops for a second. It's like, it might be a little complicated to find the part. I mean, especially now.
I don't understand. It's a wire?
It's what they used to. It's what they used to call a sky lift. There would be a little carriage on the wire, and it would travel up.
Oh,
and down.
Like
see
a train track.
The boss men near the end, they were very lazy. They didn't even want to use their feet to get off the mountain. Not that many ever really did, but you have to come down eventually to see how the workers are doing and make sure they're doing the full quota. So they would, instead of climbing down and having to intermingle with the workers in the mine, they would take the sky lift.
When was the last time you saw someone use the sky lift?
Gotta be at least 600 years now. It's been a while.
You saw it? 600? How old are you? Wait a minute.
Oh, it's not polite to ask a woman her age, dearie.
Not until they reference that they might be 600 plus years old.
I've been around a while. I know I don't look it, but I've been here for a long time.
Okay. And are we having this conversation just in the field? Or are we headed towards Nana's?
Do you want to be at Nana's shack?
I mean, I'd be happy to head with Nana back towards her shack also.
We can help carry stuff.
We'll say that it was a walk and talk.
Yeah, we do classic walk and talk.
It was very easily, I think every hex in here is at least a mile. Well, it's a couple of miles, I think. As she finishes her talk, you're just at Nana's shack. It was maybe 5 minutes and you've walked at least 10 miles.
I love Nana. We're going to speed run this shit with Nana's help. And so if we just take Nana with us. then we all of a sudden are compressing hexes into
It's like warp factor.
yeah
This adventure
nana time.
Nana factor.
Nana factor 5. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that was one question. I think the other question is, everybody keeps on talking about all the things we're going to encounter as we walk up this mountain. But you know, they're all kind of, we're like, well, we don't really go that far into the woods, or we don't ever leave town. So I mean, you know, there's a level at which it seems like they may be mostly operating on hearsay and rumors. You know, what do we really got to worry about on the way up here?
How about this? You share a little bit of that whiskey, and we'll all sit down and we'll have a little chat.
We're gonna get Nana drunk, or she's gonna get us drunk. One of the two.
Yeah. So she gets out some little glassware, like earthenware, basically, not even glass, and takes a sip. And so, people of Cairn, they try not to leave the town, and I don't blame them. You know, the lumberjacks that come through, the woodsmen, not all of them come back, but that's because it is very dangerous out here, and they have right to. I mean, you came because of the song, right? You heard the song and it captured you, and it took you, and you just couldn't get it out of your head. She takes another drink. That song is, as it did not start as some fairy tale myth to, you know, sing to children about a place where they never had to work. It started out long, long, long ago about a cautionary tale about what happens when people gain too much power and abuse it for just the weirdest things. A lake of stew? Who would do that? That's pointless. Who would want that? Much rather have, like, I don't know. I mean, a whiskey pond. That's fine. I mean, I suppose that's you could get some use out of that. But some of the things that they talked about in there were just ridiculous. A long time ago, this place was a lot different. I mean, there was forest and there were still mountains, but the Big Rock Candy Mountain, as it's now known, was a mine. There was a lot of coal underneath. Back when the land was fresh and new and unpilfered, a group of people got together and tried to mine on that mountain unsuccessfully. So they tried to get help. And instead of finding more people or getting better expertise, they made a deal with something, not me. And as part of the deal, they gained a lot of power over people and the place itself. But they used that power at first, you know, I mean, as they, you know, tried their best with it, but quickly became perverse. They started to put people into work, enforcing labor for a long time. And as they grew more powerful and more powerful and more decadent, their abuses got more and more, and they just started making very strange decisions. And at a certain point, the workers, they had no other choice but to rise up and stop them. And that's what happened. And they were successful. Their magic, which was pretty different from mine, a few of the workers learned how to use it. And they were able to break some of the spells. And then the whole mountain pretty much came tumbling down. It used to be taller than it is now, but a big chunk of it came down and kind of wrecked everything. But that was a long time ago, and people forget. The workers, they celebrated, they got drunk, they built a new town that was supposed to be a beacon of shining light for the workers of the world. But time goes on, people forget. A king dams a lake, blocks you off from the rest of the cities and towns in the area, and then everything dies around it. And then a fairy tale or a cautionary tale turns into a fairy tale over a few generations. The people here still remember enough to know not to go there. She takes like a long pause and she looks up. It's like, there is something though. There's something still up there still. It's not a fairy tale, a myth, a song isn't enough to draw people here like this. There has to be something else. Something bringing people here. and it's just out of my gaze and power. I know it's there, and I try to reach out for it, but it's gone. And that's what brings people like you here. I don't know what it is, but it's there.
Well, they just must still be up there. That's all. That's all there is to say.
I don't know. The boss men, I don't know. It'd be strange for a boss man to live this long. And if they were still alive, they'd be trying to be boss men. They'd be trying to boss people around. I don't know. It could be, but they'd have to be lonely.
No,
be diminished. And
the ones they took over, they must still be up there. Their descendants, long descendants, still living in that mystical land. And some of the boss men's magics, like we heard about the cigarette trees with the skulls around them, those are awry. But somewhere at the top there's this paradise that we
maybe I would avoid the cigarette trees. I mean, if you want a fresh smoke, it's one of the best smokes you can have, but it could be last smoke. But yes, I mean,
do you think it's worth? Do you feel like it's worth it to go up there?
That's not for me to say. That's for you to find out. But she kind of like looks at you. It's like, I feel like that's not so much a question as much as you think it is. There's something in you. It's got its hooks in you. You dream of it, don't you? Every night you dream, and it brings you closer, if not physically, mentally. You can only withstand so long. You're not the first adventurers I've seen. You won't be the last. Well, maybe. But I've seen adventurers wander through these forests for days, months, years, as they get close and then back away and get closer still. Some people, they just wander forever, minds broken by what the mountain does to them. Well, probably won't happen to you, though. Takes another sip.
What time of day is it? We've been traveling we've traveled out a good ways.
It's probably we're a little into the afternoon at this point. Nana's warp factor probably decreased the amount of travel time.
Nana, just one last question before we head on our way. Do you know like a good place to stop? Towards that, out towards that weird wire.
Well, I mean, you of course you're welcome to stay here for the night if you need. But no, I don't know of any good places to stop out that way. I would be careful. You have to go past the cigarette grove to get there. Not necessarily on the way, but it's adjacent to the way. But any spot's as good as any. I mean, there are dangers here and there. Sometimes you'll find nothing. Sometimes you'll find everything.
Do you think we could make it there by nightfall?
Ooh, it's a good question. You could probably, if you hustled, you could make it there by nightfall.
Well, then we should be on our way.
Well, the least I could do, I could take you back where I found you. Come. And she just like opens up the door, and as you walk out, you're back into that wildflower grove, which is substantially closer. You're like 10 miles closer than you were before.
What a great lady. I do. My favorite thing about that interaction was also like, here's tales from 1,000 years ago in detail. Place to stop for the night? I have no idea. Like,
yeah. Well, you could have stayed there. Yeah.
No. It was great. I will make our way towards the gondola, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, you guys go to the next one.
And as a player, I absolutely would love to drift too near the cigarette trees. Regardless of whether my character does or not.
You go to the next one. I probably wouldn't have done like the big lore dump if this was like a campaign, but considering this is pretty condensed, it's probably for the best. All right, 6. You moving past because you kind of like move past Pumpkin Town again. You come to a burnt out chapel in the middle of the forest. It seems to been not necessarily recently burned down, but within the last maybe, I don't know, last 50 years. Like there's still soot and stuff that comes off with your finger. And as you're approaching this burned out ruin, you see 4 hunched over, strange looking folk. Their skin is pale and gray. They're wearing rags. They don't have any shoes on. They're maybe maximum 4-ish feet. And one of them, as they look around, you see that they're humanoid, but their eyes are like the size of saucers. They are huge.
Something ain't right up. I just don't seem right up there.
Don't stare.
No, it don't do it.
Don't stare. Not just because it's impolite, but also because you don't want to get stared back at. No, just stop! Don't do it. I just out of curiosity, I know there was the church at the other. Is there what is the form? Is there a common form of belief that these chapels would be built towards?
When you were in town, it looked to be a chapel of the Venerable Host. The Venerable Host is a deity that's supposed to be like the literal offspring of a star and focuses on the righteousness and humility and community of its patrons. It's kind of like as close to non-denominational as you can get while still having some kind of holy being. This one, it could be that. You do see a lot of star iconography. But it's burned down, so it's hard to say for sure. I mean, a lot of religions use stars.
Right. I just didn't know if this region had a common deity to it also too, or anything like that.
If you had to guess, it would be this. You've seen the Venerable Host is kind of like an old religion that people don't necessarily follow too much in the wider world, but you have seen a lot of it here on your journey as you get closer. So in this region, it seems like that would be true. That it's the Venerable Host.
Cool. Yeah, these things are weird. What are they doing?
They're just kind of like sifting through rocks. Every once in a while, you'll see one like pick up a singular rock and it's got a bit of a blue glow to it. And they'll kind of just like put it in like a little pocket. As they're doing this, one of them like stops and with the big moon, like these big moon eyes, like looks over at you and like cocks its head and kind of just like wafts its hands out to the nearest people and kind of like gets their attention. They don't seem aggressive, but they are just kind of like looking at you and like kind of uncomfortably like sidling like away because their like backs are to the church. So they're kind of like trying to get to a position where they could run away if they need to.
Y'all don't have to be worried.
They hear your voice and kind of like recoil at it.
Okay.
We're just kind of going through. If you don't mind, we're here and we want to be over there.
One of them like cocks their head a little bit at that and then like thumbs up, and they all just kind of like sidle to the side, watching you very closely.
Yeah, let's just move on through and get that hustle on.
Mm-hmm.
You walk past. They definitely watch you as you go, but they do not see. At least it doesn't seem like they try to follow you, and they do not seem like they are trying to like harm you in any way. I'm very curious though. You walk on, and I'm assuming you don't want to search the area.
No.
Yeah.
All right, you move on to the next one. Let's go ahead and roll. You come across some more stone ruins, very much in the style of Pumpkin Town, but not quite as big. It's like another watchtower and a small little outlook building. You do know that in the forest like this, it was pretty common to have watchtowers in case of like fires, so you could spot them in the distance. This could be one of those things, but very, very old. And you see, and as you're kind of like investigating it, the forest goes dead quiet. Like all the chittering, all of the grasshoppers, all the birds, just you could hear a pin drop. The sky gets instantly dark. It was clear. It's almost like night comes. And then off in the corner of your eye, I would at this point to your left, because you're walking the distance of the skylift, see this bright aurora start to wrap itself around the very top of Big Rock Candy Mountain. And it's like the aurora borealis, this shifting color weaving between each other. and it's mesmerizing. And you're not entirely sure how much time has passed. It could be a minute, could be an hour, and then it's just gone. Like you blink, and then the sky is back, the darkness is gone, the aurora is gone. You're standing in front of this watchtower.
Y'all see that?
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Whew. Is there a door on the watchtower?
Is there what on the
A
watchtower?
door.
A door.
Oh yeah. You can. It's toppled over long ago. There are some stairs where it basically just like stops like 10 feet. It's like cracked over. The other half is like rolled down the hill. But you can get up there and get a little more distance if you want to look up.
Yeah, I would like to do that.
All righty. You see in the distance a couple of things. One, of course, there's always a Big Rock Candy Mountain. You do see the sky lift in the distance. It is 3 hexes away, so some number of miles. I think it's about 10 miles. And you do see a cigarette. You see like this big waft of smoke just kind of like rising up. It's not like from a smokestack or anything like that. It's just like the forest is almost like on fire, but you don't see any flames. And that's a little bit closer. That is that's like two hexes away, so maybe like 3-4 miles away. It's not directly in line with the sky lift, but it's just off to the right of it.
Oh, I'm starting to flag. I could go for a drag.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
A quick detour, grab a smoke. I know they say that you don't want to go near these things, you'll die, but
That's not what the song says.
I'll tell you what, I grew up, I worked in them mills, and the smoke clogged the air up there. I don't know if you ever seen a steel mill, but can't see
cigarettes a step up from that. Yeah.
That's clean air as far as I'm concerned.
Nice clean. All right, I'm guessing you move closer to the cigarette grove.
At least, unless the other two outvote me. Of course.
Oh no!
let's do
Like I
it.
said, as a
Let's do
player,
it.
there's no way I'm outvoting you. That's 100% where I want to be headed.
All right, I keep on rolling the same things over and over. All right, so you go to the next hex, which is a little bit closer. You find another clearing. Oh, it's not even so much a clearing. There's just literally just immediately around the structure, there is this black monolith covered in kudzu, and there's just enough spread of the tree cover where the light shines down directly on it. And you get an eerie feeling of being watched.
Does it feel the same as or different than when the pumpkin patchers were watching us?
Different.
Okay.
Very different. It's like primal, this feeling. It's like what you would imagine like going in a jungle and being stalked by something. You immediately feel like something is there. You can't see it though.
Cool. How big is this monolith?
Say 15 feet.
Tall?
Yeah, tall.
How wide?
I'll say about 5 feet tall. It's relatively narrow.
Okay.
Are there any markings or runes or anything on it as we get closer?
As you get closer and try to like peel back some of the kudzu, you do see that it is covered in a bunch of different runes, but nothing that you're really able to make out. It's not a language that you've seen. There are some pictographs, and it does show like this tentacle. There's a lot of tentacles, like a head full of tentacles. And you see like an eye covered in a bunch of bands of something light or metal. I don't know if you guys have seen like the old pictures of what like angels are supposed to look like, where it's like a floating eye with a bunch of bands of other floating eyes. It looks like that kind of.
Cool.
Where did you say this angel looking? Where did you say this angel looking thing is?
Oh, it's on this black I'm blanking on the word,
Monolith.
but monolith. Yes, I was gonna say monument, but yeah, monolith.
Don't stare.
That is bad news.
If we walk as I walk around the monolith, does the sense of being watched change at any point in time?
It does not. You're almost like, after you're looking at this monolith, you're not entirely sure. You're pretty sure that it's not the monolith. It does feel like maybe something outside of this is watching you right now.
Cool. I'm just going to take out a piece of the backstrap from one of those deers and just leave it by the base of the monolith.
Okay, yeah. You do that
as we start to exit the area.
Yeah.
All right, you do that. And as you leave, you still keep that feeling of being watched. The next hex is going to be the cigarette grove. So you guys are going to go into that. I gotta find it in my little thing. There we go. So as you approach, it's acrid, hot, and unsettling. It smells strongly of tobacco and the smoke that comes with it. The trees are oddly beautiful, like in just the way that they seem complete. Like there's no leaves. Every bit of thing hanging off this is like a cigarette, a cigarello, or a cigar, and it has a picturesque quality to it, but it's kind of ruined by the sheer number of skulls and bones that litter the nearby area. And like no other plants seem to grow here. It is barren except for these trees.
Okay. And does the sense of being watched, it's still active, or does it? Okay.
It's still active. And as you guys come to the clearing, I'm going to need everybody to make a will save.
All right.
Will they?
Will they or won't they?
Made it.
By 2.
Nope.
Donnie does not make it.
My stats are pretty bad.
Without even like any hesitation, walk up to the first tree, grab a cigarette, or it's your choice, cigar, cigarillo, cigarette, grab it, and just immediately, with whatever you have to light it, and that's smooth. Your will, as you take your first puff, your will score is temporarily lowered. You take some damage, so it's lowered by 1.
Okay. Oh, good.
Mm-hmm. And once you do a long rest, it'll all come back.
I'd like to pick a handful of various smokables and
right,
not smoke them, but like just stash them away for later, just in case.
All right. Yeah. As you're picking them, you're like, oh, it'd be really good to smoke. Yeah, but you know what? I don't need it right now.
Smells really good.
As you kind of look around, you're still smoking your cigarette. You, of course, see that there is a lot of bodies around. Some of them have been here relatively recently. You can tell that there are not even days old corpses here. If you guys want to take a little time and search, it would take about an hour, but you could search through everything and see if there's anything here.
Oh, absolutely. Now we're going to
let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's check if the postman is just around.
Yeah. Forgot about the postman. Classic search and smoke.
Ooh, you find something good. Let me see here. Find a big treasure.
A bag of mail.
A humidor.
So as you're searching through, you find a random spell book. You see what looks to be a wizarding fellow with a bunch of robes and a little pointy hat, clutching like one hand on a spell book, the other one on the remnants of a cigar. You find, I'll roll a D100 to find what spell book you guys find. That is a 22. You find a spell book of Detect Magic. You can see or hear nearby magical auras, and that can go to whomever. You know what? Because this is a short game, I'll roll that each of you find a big treasure. That'll be fun.
Ooh.
All right, ready for that boss battle at the end here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who wants to claim the first magical item, the spell book?
I'll take the spell book.
I ain't doing magic. That's for sure.
All right. The next thing you find is a. This is one of my own magical items. Hopefully, it works out. You find a spyglass of bronze with a bunch of runes and arcane scribbles etched onto a body. This is on the body of another adventurer. This is called the Whisper Scope. It functions as a normal spyglass, but when used to observe something, you can also hear the target, and by expending a charge, it has 5 charges, you can whisper something to them. The target will not know where the whisper came from, and to recharge, you must spend an entire day yelling, not a single hushed word or whisper. And I can send that description in the Discord once I roll the last one. All right, last one. Ooh, I think that was a good one. All right,
Not like this other crap y'all got.
Oh, I mean, I love all of the magic items I put in here. So, the last one is, I think it's a boomstick. Is it the boomstick? Yeah, it is the boomstick. So they're clutched in the hands of what looks to be a very recently dead lumberjack. You find what looks to be a rifle of some kind. It's a boomstick. It uses shells. There's one shell in the chamber currently. It's a miniature breech-loading cannon that uses a special cell as ammunition. When used to attack, it creates a D10 blast in front of the wielder. The shells are rare, but can be made from explosive material and metal. So I will copy these and then put them in the Discord, and you guys can divvy them up however you wish.
I think I'd like to grab the spyglass, being the whispery guy.
All right, I'll take the boomstick. It's a fine piece of equipment right here.
And you check it. It is nice. You probably, I don't know if Cairn is big into guns. This might be the first time you've seen a gun.
I'm sure there's a Cairn hack that has them, but yeah. And it's definitely made with that Pittsburgh steel.
Yeah. The Pittsburgh steel, yeah. And then let me grab the Whisper Scope.
This is what it was all about. Making stuff like this.
Making stuff like this. All right, so, and then also there's the spell book of Detect Magic. Y'all can divvy it up however. Now that you've spent another hour in the presence of the smoke, I'm going to need everybody to make another will save. Actually, yeah, will save, yeah.
Oh, yes.
I'm good.
No way.
Still failed?
Uh-huh.
You take, I mean, I just for the sake of thing, you were going to take another one anyway because you smoked before, but you pluck another cigarette and start smoking, you take another point of will. Where is your score at right now?
So have I taken 2 or 3?
2 points of will damage so far.
It is at 8 out of 10.
Okay, so you got plenty of smokes left in you.
Yeah.
You also find that there are some ruins nearby. I'll say this is happening in the hour that you search. There's some stone ruins nearby the grove that have been destroyed by time. All that remains are the foundations. There's a large building with many small rooms. As you guys maybe look closer at it, you do see that a few the rooms etched into the sides of them say help. With a little bit of with a little bit of like putting 2 and 2 together, you're thinking that maybe there used to be probably more of these, and this might be how they got workers like to get. And this is a flashback to my idea, but like company stores, they would usually stock a lot of tobacco products and make them cheap at first and then make them more expensive gradually. They would like let you buy tobacco on loan, and that was one of the ways they captured people into into company towns. So this is my take on that.
Love it.
You can't. So here's the thing. One of you is currently very on cigarettes right now. Is loving the tobacco life. It might be pretty difficult to get them to leave here. I don't know if you guys are planning on leaving.
You ready to go, Donnie?
Oh, I mean, if we gotta go, we can go. But as far as I'm concerned, we may be found.
Smooth paradise.
I mean, the corpses lying around definitely aren't nice.
Yeah, feels like they decided to leave and not, or just to stay and not leave.
Yeah.
So maybe do like me, grab yourself a handful, break off a branch of cigarettes.
I mean, they definitely
with
slept
us.
out all night, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, all night.
Yeah, but they ain't used to it like I am. Huge smoker's cough, probably right there.
Yeah.
If we gotta go, we can go.
Yeah. We lay out a trail of individual single cigarettes for Donnie to lead him away from the.
Can you make another will save as you attempt to leave the grove?
No, I got a 20. If that changes.
That's a believe it. Always a failure. And
He starts to walk away. It's like, you know what? One more for the road, and then goes back and immediately you take another point of will damage. And he's like, yeah, we should really get out of here.
I mean, I do think like breaking off a branch does seem reasonable at this point in time. Like, can we?
I got a saw. I bought a saw.
There we go. There we go. Yeah,
we go.
We find a good chunk of tree and
Okay,
bring it on down.
all right. You start to lure him away with it. We'll say a little bit more time has passed. You finish your cigarette. You're looking for your next one. Could you have another will save, please? I'll say that you're starting to get away from the grove.
What happens if you tie?
You're good.
Okay.
You catch yourself reaching for another cigarette as like your throat and lungs are burning and your head is spinning from the nicotine. Like you're like, oh no, I'm okay. Like I don't need this. You know what?
I took it behind my ear.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea.
As a whatever. I don't smoke cigarettes. I also have a cigar fairly regularly. When Marcus Linderham, the creator of Down We Go, is in town for Sweden, when we went to Gen Con, apparently like what they call snooze, which is literally just like dip pouches, are very common in Sweden. And people will pack them when they're abroad. And he wanted me to try one, and I did. And I have never experienced a head rush from nicotine like I did from doing that. And I was like, it was the first time I was like, oh, I understand why this is addictive. And it was super bizarre. And that's just a story I wanted to share with everybody right now on stream.
Oh, yeah. It was a big thing in my high school. Like people would do chewing tobacco, and then snooze came out, I think in high school.
Yeah.
And I don't want to accuse any major tobacco companies of being like a little off kilter, but they were definitely marketed towards children.
So I want to accuse all of them of doing it, not just one
like
of them.
Their market is like, oh, it's easier to hide, and like it doesn't put like little grains in your mouth because it's like in little packets. And I was like, oh, so this is for the high school chewing tobacco fan. This is what this is.
100%. I never understood the attraction to it until that moment, and like haven't had one since, but like still was like, oh, like I get this. Yeah, it was very common in high school if somebody said they weren't dipping or didn't have a pouch, for the consequence being, okay, cool, swallow deeply for me. Which was the worst punishment you could inflict. And we'll just move on from this dwelling on this. But that's my head rush story from that.
All right, you guys again back on the trail, not the road, but back on the trail towards the ancient skylift. It is now coming pretty clearly into view. You are right next, and the hex right next to it. You encounter a rusted out hulk of what can only be described as a vehicle of some kind, not a carriage, but made out of metal. And it seems to have like wheels and also nothing that you've quite ever seen before. It seems to be able to carry quite a bit of whatever it was carrying, probably coal or people or material of some kind. And you see also... It's actually kind of kismet, but in the corner you see you're kind of taken aback by this, and then you hear this subtle sound of what is like chewing, like, and just at the corner of your eye you see like a blood stag just being like dragged slightly away into the shadows of the forest. As your eyes adjust, you see what can only be described as a giant spider. And the thing that is most terrifying is at the end of each one of its legs are human hands. And instead of having a spider head, it has a human head.
I cast detect magic. No, I'm just kidding.
That would be a good time for it. You. There has been some mention of, I think I mentioned before, a creepy crawly. It seems like you guys have encountered one. Whoever has the highest will score, you notice that there is a shiny brass cog like lodged into the side of its abdomen.
I'm at a 15.
I'm at a 15 also too. We both see it. We point. We
Yeah,
we make eye contact with each other.
Yeah.
And we're like,
It catches the light. It just catches the light and the shadows, and it glints. And I might be able to share a picture. All of the artwork in this book.
if
is
you drop it in the
public
Discord, I
domain
can pop
art.
it up on the screen for our
awesome.
wonderful viewing audience.
But I was able to find something that kind of works for a creepy crawly. There we go. Snip, snip, snip. Let me save it. Creepy crawly.
Snip, snip.
Snipping, snippy, snip.
We snip the snip.
There we go. It's close. It's not perfect. That's the problem with using like public domain art, but what are you
That's
gonna
pretty
do?
good. That's pretty good.
But yeah, you see that just basically like going to town. It does not notice you yet. You've never seen anything like this. There was some talk about something like this in town, but this is completely out of your imagine, like out of what you would have imagined possible in a place like this. And it also has this appearance of looking kind of sewn together. Like a little roughshod.
I wanna walk right up to it and shoot it with the boomstick.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
I was like, oh yeah, we got to come up with a really clever way to deal with this. That's a really clever way to deal with
All right.
this.
I would say that's your rush. If you all could then that happens, we'll roll for that, or you can roll for that. If you guys could do a dex save to see if it gets to act afterwards. And that is a D10 blast in front of the wheel there, so you get to roll a D10.
I've rolled a 3.
Hey, 3 ain't nothing. It's not like
It's not 10.
It's something.
There's a lot of higher numbers that I could have
All
rolled.
right, let me.
How many shells you got for that thing?
Just the one.
So, 8. All right, -3. You just blow apart the deer in its face, and like you can see a bunch of like the pellets or whatever like plunge into the creepy crawly, but it goes, that was very rude.
I don't like that.
Did everybody make their dex save?
I did.
I did not.
So I'm gonna try to stab it through with my sword after it says that.
All right, yeah.
I'm gonna aim for near where that cog is.
All right, yeah.
Not the cog, because the cog's made of metal. That doesn't make any sense to try to stab something that's metal with a sword, but near there.
Yeah, near there. Go ahead and roll your attack. Roll
like-
your damage.
That's 6.
Ooh, nice. It needs to make a strength save. You might get lucky. You don't get lucky. It's hurt. It's like bleeding. You can tell that it was a little wounded before, like that cog didn't come from nowhere. Like that was a fresh wound. But it is still up and still alive. It is going to look over at the person that just tried to blow it up with a boomstick, and it is going to make an attack. It does claws and bite.
I'm glad you used the boomstick.
Ooh, you take, I mean, this is a pretty bad roll. You take 4 points of damage.
What does having chainmail do for me?
It just reduces, I think, is that considered heavy armor? Let's see here. I got the thing open. Chainmail. Oh, chainmail. It just says that's armor. It doesn't say how much that reduces. I think it reduces it by 1.
It's by whatever level. I think chainmail is 2 actually. And so
yeah, we'll say 2 then. It reduces the damage by 2, so you take 2 damage.
Is that to my strength or HP?
Just a hit protection. Once that gets below, once that gets below, then you start rolling the strength saves. That is it for it currently. All right, Mark, I believe you haven't gone yet.
Yeah, I would like to smash it with my mace one more time.
All right, smashing with mace.
And it's a D8.
Yes, a D8.
That is also 3.
Ooh. All right. It gets reduced that just a little, but it still needs to make...
The good news is once we get into save mode, that doing damage is always good.
Yeah.
It still persists, but it is not great. It's not doing good. That was a lucky roll. All right. We'll just keep that order again. So Tony, Adam, you can go, and then the monster will go again.
Do you want to just hit it?
I guess Adam first, and then Tony.
You want to hit it with the stock of the boomstick, Adam?
No, that boomstick's garbage. I'm gonna throw it away and grab the axe off my back and just try to hack at its like hand legs.
All right.
With no particular strategy or anything, just everybody else is swinging at this thing, so I should too. And I'm gonna say, hey, why do you? That's nasty. You shouldn't talk. And I do 4 damage.
Points of damage. Let me roll. Still up. It's got quite a bit of strength, but we're getting it down there pretty low. Tony, it's now your turn.
8 damage.
8 damage. Oh my
Nice.
God. All right, so this last one's substantial hit. It's meaty. You can hear what sounds like bones and tissue like breaking in the inside of this thing.
That's not how spiders are supposed to work at all. I say out loud.
Yeah.
It's one of the Hobby Lobby spiders with the skeleton.
This brings it down to a very low strength score. We'll see what we can do. Oof. It just kind of lets out this kind of crumples over. The cog is free from its side.
Should we talk to him first, or
I will smash it some more with my mace.
Should we have talked to it?
No.
Just check it.
I can't imagine this cog will become helpful at any point in the near future, but I'll hold on to it anyways.
As you're kind of take the cog and look this thing over, this is a spider. It's got like the fur of a spider, but upon closer inspection, like this seems to be cobbled together from various human bits and pieces. You can also tell that this thing, like, it does have like a human face, but like as it died, like it's kind of like jaw unhinged, and you can see that there was like a bunch of fangs and teeth inside. This thing is messed up. This is not something you are going to forget anytime soon.
Does it look like it was constructed, or it's just messed up?
There is still a few places where you can see what looks like sewed together. Not like it's long gone, been like patched and like grown over, but you can still see some of the needle marks of where it was like sewn, the crosshatch. Like this thing was put together.
Nasty.
Yeah. Rough.
Oh.
Press on.
All right, so how far away are we from the station now?
You are right next to it. And I'll say you find on its person, you find another spell book because they love to collect books. So let me roll for another book. Ooh, 5. You get the Arcane Eye spell. You find like underneath it, like attached with a bit of webbing, you find there's like some small children's toys. You don't get the idea that maybe they stole children, but they're like puzzles, like those kind of like wood block puzzles, maybe not necessarily a child's toy. But you also find a book, and it is the Arcane Eye, which let me get the description of that real quick. You can see through a magical floating eyeball that flies around at your command if you were to cast that spell. So two, so you have that book and then detect magic.
I mean, are you done with the boomstick? Do you want this?
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't touch that stuff.
I'll grab it then.
Yeah,
it'll go good with the eyeglass.
I'll pick up the boomstick if it's going to get abandoned also.
Yeah,
It is.
there could be more shells around. You never know.
Yeah.
The next
right,
weird spider abomination we kill might have a shell on its back.
Exactly.
Yeah, we make our way to the sky carriage.
Yeah.
You get to the clearing of the ancient skylift. It's sunny, windy, and creaky. It smells of rust and old oil. The clearing is home to some ancient ruins, and the ruins seem to be radiating a energy. You can like almost feel it like pressure on your skin, and it makes your skin tingle. You can hear that the main I found a little art, I can clip this too, that the main tower that has like the little coach, it is humming, and when you take a look at the mechanisms inside, like some of them are whirling, but a lot of them are dead, and you don't see that the vehicle, the little carriage is going. It seems to be stopped, and when you try to like pull the lever to get it going, it just cranks and makes a horrible grinding noise.
Excellent. For no reason whatsoever, I look at this cog that I've got.
Yeah, you do see that there's a lot of brass cogs in here.
Do they look similar?
To match the cog. Yeah.
Is there like a place where there's a spinning post but no cog around it?
You know what? Now that you say it, and now that you're looking for it, you do see one of them. That's why I said this is like very weird chance that you guys.
Was that really a random roll of like?
That was a random roll. There's a D12 roll for like a random encounter every time you enter. So there's a not insignificant chance over the course of a trek that you'll come across that creepy crawly. But the fact that we only did like 4 or 5, like it was
right, and then we got it right before we arrived. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I will look at it, tap and then like press the cog into place.
All right, you press into place, and kind of the other gears begin to whir, and there was a bit of a discordant hum before. It was kind of like lackluster. This one now it's fully humming. You can see that there's torque being applied to the rotor that holds like the wire, the line, and when you kind of like just move the lever a little bit, you see it like lurch forward. You found the shortcut onto Big Rock Candy Mountain.
It just kind of like continually goes, and we hop on, I guess, when it gets to us.
Yeah.
Classic +1 speed run. And so,
boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, we 100% do that.
Yep.
Nice. You now make your way up to Big Rock Candy Mountain. On
the way up, we're like, but here's the deal. When we get to the other side, now anyone can use this shortcut.
Yeah. You've brought it back. All right. So there is a map to Big Rock Candy Mountain. So I will share that with you guys. It's not very descriptive, so it's fine sharing.
I want to go to the lemonade thing. And the birds and the bees on the Big Rock Candy Mountain.
I can share this just so it's a little bit easier to reference. So you guys are going to appear.
What on earth?
It's a little much altogether, but I cut it up into little pieces in the adventure so it's easier to navigate.
Nice.
So if we had gone through the mines, we would have been on this bottom part. Is that correct?
Yeah, you would have been on the bottom part, and you would have traveled up. But because you took the sky lift, you appear. Where does it say you appear? I should know that because I made it right. You appear in the skylift platform, which is which number is that? You appear on T7.
T7,
which is, I believe, way on the right, basically at the very end. So you come up. It takes I mean, this is pretty slow ancient machinery. It takes 10, 15, 20 minutes to get up. And as you get up, it's a little rickety. And there's a few moments where the wind rushes past and you feel like I'm really on a 1,000-year-old piece of machinery that hasn't worked for the last like 600 years. And I just fixed it with a cog. But as you get up there, you arrive at an ornate, like gold and ivory encrusted platform that's basically seen a lot of time before you guys came here, so it's a little disused. There is the receiving end of that arcane machinery is still whirring away with a bunch of gears. So to the north of you, you see a winding path, what looks to be a pond in the distance. To the west, you see a bridge, what looks to be like an orchard. And then south, you see a giant bubbling stew lake.
Yeah.
Let's get some stew.
Stew Lake.
I mean, you think about how good that stew that's been going for 20 years was. Like I said,
Yeah,
it's a
this
couple
one's been
years
going for
short.
1,000 years.
This one's been going for
1,000
1,000
years,
years.
So good.
You don't think there's people in it, do you? Like people meat in
Oh,
this
man.
stew?
Why, I mean, okay, here's the deal. Why would you bring that up now?
Yeah, you're just ruining it for everybody.
Look, we've been hearing about death and destruction for ages now. A whole day and a half.
I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean, obviously, look, it was all true. Look, I mean, like, I don't understand why all of a sudden we're trying to poke holes in what was obviously 100% true theory that there is a giant paradise up here.
Yeah, they were just trying to keep us away from it. They wanted to keep it for themselves.
Exactly.
I think this is going to work out just fine.
All right, let's get some
Is
stew.
the Stew Lake one of the numbers?
Oh yeah, it's T6.
Yeah, we're headed to T6, I think, if we can.
All right, so you head to T6. It's hot, stuffy, and pungent. The air is thick with the scent of rotting meat. There is a massive lake-sized bubbling pit that churns full of piping hot brown stew. You see several ancient-looking wooden boats that sit at the shore. From here north across the Stew Lake, you see the pond that was mentioned before. West, there is a bit of a winding path that cuts around the lake to an orchard. And then, of course, there's back where you came east.
All right. So
It's a rotting smell. You think that's just the shore?
I mean, that's got to be like,
Washed up,
the land stew, as it were.
Yeah,
you know?
the bad parts that washed off.
I pull out my spoon and I scoop up some of the stew and I give it a big old sniff.
It's like sickly sweet and a little fetid. You're not entirely sure if it is edible. Like whatever magic keeps this going may or may not be like a little wonky now.
Yeah, I take a bite.
All right, I'm gonna need you to make a strength.
I rolled a 4. Yeah,
So is that good?
that's good. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Oh, that's success. I didn't know if you had like a strength of a 3 or whatever.
No.
For you. Your stomach, like it's one. I don't know if you guys have ever been to a certain like a restaurant. And you take in one bite, and then your stomach is just like, I don't think so. Like it's not necessarily like you immediately get ill, but it's like, no, we should stop doing this. That's what you get right now. Like it doesn't taste awful. It tastes very oily. It tastes super pungent. It tastes like the most beefiest beef thing you've ever had, with a hint of carrot and a little onion. But it also tastes like it's been in an open pond, and there's definitely some crunchy bits that are probably bugs.
I look at the two of them. I say, it's perfect. It's exactly what you think it would be. I at this point, knowing that I am the person who has had the oldest stew in the world makes me a pillar amongst all peoples.
It does it does bring you up a level above.
I want to get on one of these boats and get some like fresher stew. I don't want this shore
You
stew.
want to go
shore
over to the
stew?
center?
Yeah.
As you push the boat out, you get a lot of resistance. And you used to push again, and like almost like the stew like starts to form over the front of the boat. And as you push again, it starts to pile in. And then in front of you forms, and not a water elemental, but a stew elemental.
Okay.
The corrupted stew forms. And give it some form. It's piping hot. It's steaming. You see carrots and bits of meat and onion floating and flowing around it. And that's combat. So we're gonna have to. I need all of you to make dex saves.
I have to
Get your
message
spoons
Keegan.
out.
I have to message Keegan right now because stew elementals are a thing that features regularly in their home games.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good.
What am I doing, Dex?
Dex save.
I rolled a 3, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so you're all good. You all get to act before the elemental acts, so you may make whatever attacks you'd like to.
I mean, how far off the shore is our good friend here?
Adam's character, I'm blanking, Donnie, was pushing out the boat basically just on shore, and then the stew elemental started to resist it and is like right in front of y'all. So within striking range, easily.
I'm gonna toss my vial of poison in it, pop it open, chuck it right in the middle.
All right.
Donnie is
So-
aghast at this. You're poisoning.
It is. That's an interesting way of doing this. Because I don't know, it may make it worse for y'all. So I believe poisons work. I mean, it just enters its form, like it can't resist it.
Mhm.
So roll a d20, and I believe I subtract the result from its strength.
I feel
Alright.
like
Ooh,
stew
a
elementals
20.
are probably
Yeah.
especially susceptible to this kind of stuff.
Oh my god, a 20?
A 20 straight up.
It immediately, it almost reflexive. You just kind of like uncork it and toss it. This greenish poison starts to like flow through the form, and it's like you see all the bits of meat start to like shrivel and kind of like decompose, and like all the bits and pieces of it start to turn this off shade of like yellow, and it starts to lose form. And then that poison, that like goop flows back into the stew, and then you see it just start to go through and start to change, like for a pretty wide area. It may eventually spread out to the entire one, but the stew in here is now thoroughly poisoned.
Yeah, way to go, friend.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean,
took care of that problem
way to protect
immediately.
my legacy. No one else will ever have eaten stew as old
Yeah.
as the stew I have eaten.
I'm just looking out for you, man.
No, I need to. Now I definitely need to push the boat and like beat the poison wave.
You're gonna try to get out.
Untouched stew.
All right, you push the boat out. Are you all joining?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea for me.
I will push hard on the back end to let him have a bit of a boost.
Cheers.
All right,
I'd
we'll
like
say
to
that you
behind my ear as well. I'm gonna need the extra boost.
make a will save.
Oh no, that is not a
No.
success.
You take a puff. It's like, fuck, I gotta go back to that forest. Sorry if I curse. I don't know if it's cursing allowed.
That's fine. You're good.
It's like, oh crap, I really gotta go back to that forest. You'll take another point. You push out. Make a strength check or a strength save to see if you can beat the poison.
I can. I got a 6 out of my 9.
All right, yeah, you get past, and you feel like you're still in like, well, fresh is a relative term when it comes to this stew, but unpoisoned stew. You can take a bite if you wish.
Unpoisoned, freshly churned stew.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got like I do have a shovel on me, so I would like to get the shovel as far down as I can without burning myself and pull some deep stew out.
All right, you do that. You have fresh, piping hot stew from the very core of this lake. You have it. If you want to taste, you can. If you want to store it, I don't know if you have any. You can put it in a container of some kind.
I'd like to try to eat some.
All right, you try to eat some. Ooh, that's my dog. So you take a bite. It's a little fresher than the stuff that was at like the edges of the periphery. I'm still going to need you to make a strength save.
Oh yeah, that's a 1.
Oh yeah, no, you know what? Pretty good. Like this is solid stew. You know, maybe a stew lake is not that wild of an idea. Maybe there was something there.
How dare you rob me of my legacy?
Hey, it's pretty good out here. You should have come along.
As you're saying this, like this yellow bile like fluid starts to like slowly float towards you.
All right, well we should get going. I need to wash it down with some of that whiskey pond over there.
Be right. Well, isn't it on the other side of the lake?
It is on the other side of the lake. So you can go back to the skylift platform and go around the lake, or you can go over the lake. It's up to you.
Oh yeah,
I may as well go through at this point.
let's hop in some other boats.
I mean, the stew elemental is gone. So, and you've killed all any remaining stew elementals with the poison. So it's a
All
pretty
right,
solid
we'll
move.
go in the boat. So we'll hop in one of the other boats and head across.
Yeah, and it's honestly, it's a little bit nightmarish because like it's hot. It's almost like you're kayaking through lava, and every once in a while you'll splash and like a bit of searing hot stew will like get on you and it'll leave a little mark. It's also hard to breathe with this much like beef smog and steam around you. So
the umami is overwhelming.
Yeah, it's almost too much umami. You do eventually make it to the other side. And this one is much more reasonable. This is only a pond compared to a lake, but there seems to be a spring whiskey. It's cool shaded and it's very pungent. Like you can smell the whiskey. It's kind of like effervescent in the way that it's just everywhere. There is also thunderous overlapping snoring. Like you hit the thing, you see the whiskey, and you just hear snoring. And as you scan around this giant pool of brown liquor, you see a bunch of just snoring bears. You see two of them.
How'd they get up here?
Well, actually, no. You see a lot more than that. One second, I gotta roll more dice.
Oh my gosh!
You see like 10 of them. You see like 10 of them, but they're completely undisturbed.
But they were just really big and blocking the other 8.
Yeah. And at the center, so you see this giant pool of brown liquor shimmering in the sun, and above it there is this rod, maybe 3 feet long, made out of silver, it looks like. And it floats a few feet above the surface of the center of the pond, and just streams of whiskey are just flowing out of it.
And is it supported by anything?
No, it's just floating in the center.
Infinite whiskey rod.
Infinite whiskey rod, potentially. You just have to get past the many
sleeping. Yeah, they're sleeping.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a pond.
Bears.
Are they equidistantly arranged? Are they in a big bear pile? What do we got?
They're kind of in a big bear pile. They are snoring. They seem to be completely out of it, but you would get a sense, loud noises maybe could provoke, or getting too close, like they do have a sense of smell. And I'll send a picture of what I have for a thunder bear. It's a very funny thing I found.
I'm gonna start sneaking my way down.
All right, you start to sneak.
I'm watching this one.
Yep.
This is Thatch's obstacle.
Okay, you start to sneak. You can make a dex save and see how stealthily and dexterous you make your way down there.
I rolled at my dex.
Oh, that's fine. You succeed. Doesn't seem like you're at like the edge of the pond right now.
Yeah.
And they do not seem to have noticed you.
First, I get a little sip.
It's good. Like it's straight, like good whiskey. It even has, you don't know how they added it magically, but it has like a nice smoky kind of quality to it. Vanilla, a little bit of like baking spice in there. It's nice.
Excellent. Pop that Thunder Bear up on stream for everybody to see. I take out my grappling hook.
Like that. That's a good use of it.
Best use of a grappling hook ever. And I swing it around, and I'm going to try to hook that rod. What I'm really trying to do is throw past the rod, have the rope drape over the rod, and then I'm gonna pull it back, because that's the least noisy way to do this.
I'll let you choose what kind of save you would like to make, or if you want to argue that you don't need to save at all, because I don't know what I would do in this situation.
Yeah, I mean, all of my stats on this character, I'm not gonna lie, they are bonkers good, and they are pretty close to each other.
Good.
So,
all my extra numbers.
Do what?
I said you got all my extra numbers.
I got all your extra numbers. So if you don't want me to make a save, I mean, this character I think is capable of just doing this thing probably.
Okay, yeah.
This have a smuggler background. This is kind of like, drapes
over. You've got to very gingerly and slowly kind of like start to bring it in. the metal. You're very delicate in the way that you don't want the metal to kind of like clink and make a noise. So it's it floats over towards you. It like catches and it begins to float. And before you know it, you have in hand. I believe I have the word for it. What is it?
This is the first character I've ever wanted to port over to any other game, and it's just for this singular item.
I may have put it in the sidebar. You have the Wand of Whiskey. 4 charges, a truly awe-inspiring relic, and possibly the crowning achievement of the bossmen. When used, this brass, I guess I put brass in here, but I said it's silver, emits a blast of booze that intoxicates on contact. All the target's attacks are impaired, and they must make a will save or pass out. To recharge, you have to go to 5 different taverns and buy 5 rounds for everyone inside at each bar.
And how many charges does it start with?
It starts with 4.
And does it passively generate whiskey? Or is that specific to the location?
Yeah, oh, no, that is not.
Wow, that looks just like a bear.
I don't know why. So it passively, so you can turn it on and it passively generates whiskey, or you can use the
whiskey blast.
That's why. Or you can use the whiskey blast.
Nice.
Why? All right. Anything else y'all would like to do? I need a second.
No, I'm gonna make my way back up to the crew.
Does it just constantly drip whiskey, or can you turn it off?
Yeah, you can turn it off. It's got like when you rotate it, it kind of. I'll say that as you rotate it, it turns it off. I will say that as you're doing this, and the smell of whiskey gets very strong as it approaches, one of the Thunder Bears does wake up. Kind of just like, he kind of like pushes its nose into the whiskey pond and starts to drink, and then like its eye kind of like wanders over to you with like whiskey wand in hand.
I just go like, I go.
Commonly recognized by bears everywhere.
Grab the description. I don't know why it's difficult with it. There we go. There we go. All right. So it is awake. And it seems to be eyeing you. But it I believe I just rolled a 10 for its morale thing or its reaction thing. So I think that's actually kind of good. It just kind of like licks its snout and kind of just goes, kind of nods at you and just starts to drink more.
It's great.
It is awake. It seems to be like, whatever.
All right. I got this. Hold up the whiskey thing. Ron. Shake off some of what's left into your open gullet.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Nah. It's good.
All right. So west of y'all is the winding path to Forgotten Orchard. East, of course, is the Skylift again. And of course, south is going back across the Lake of Stew if you wanted to do such a thing.
Let's head west and check out that orchard.
Yeah.
All right. You head to the orchard, which is T5, the Forgotten Orchard. It's warm, bright, and beautiful. The smell of sweet apples carries on the breeze. There are large trees of every kind that fill the orchard, each with branches heavy with fruit, some recognizable, apples, peaches, etc., some not. A graveyard sits under the shade of one of the trees. On a tree nearby is carved, "Rest now in the shade. Your labors have ended, but you will never be forgotten." The name, of course, has been faded out with time. And you get an overwhelming feeling that this is a safe place, that nothing, like there is no ill intent here, it seems like.
God, as a player, that just feels like a trap. Sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Take a rest so we can get your will back up.
It seems
like you can take a rest if you want.
Place as any.
Yeah.
Our heads down.
Take a load off.
This is a sanctuary.
I would like to grab some of that unnatural fruit and give that a try and see what that's like.
So the fruit you grab, there's like some, you may not know them in your character, but maybe you know them in real life. You see things like lychee and you see star fruit. You see like guava, all that stuff, pineapple. They're all seem to be growing off these trees, regardless if they naturally grow off these tree of a tree in real life. The fruit, as you take a bite, the fruit is sweet, and it brings like this burst of like joy in your body, like as a response to like the sugars and the flavor. It does give 1d4 temporary HP.
Nice.
So you can, I don't know if it just overrides whatever you currently had before. So if you rolled a 4 last time, you can keep it if you don't want to roll again. You probably can't benefit from this though more than once a day. And then you guys can take a break. North, of course, north. So you guys came from the Whiskey Pond. There is open grounds towards the public square to the west. And of course, there's going back to the Skylift platform and the Stew Lake. It's up to y'all. And I'll say that the break happens, we'll condense it down to a few, like you spend 30 minutes here and then you feel completely refreshed. Whatever bits and pieces that you may have lost, you get back.
Cool.
Well, I'll start with a cigarette from the branch.
That's how you'll start, fresh from the rest. Oh, that was a great rest.
Hale and hearty. And I succeeded in a way that I would not have if I didn't rest.
Yeah, so that smooth tobacco just is the perfect way to curtail this long rest. You don't feel the need to go back to the to the grove, but you know what? Kind of be nice though.
Yeah, like, the desire is still there.
The desire is still there.
If you didn't want to be here, you'd want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So where would you guys like to go next? I mean, the only place you guys haven't explored yet is through the public square.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, head towards the public square. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to meta game, but there is this one place at the top that all the arrows point to, and I feel like that might be where we're headed.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's up to y'all.
I agree.
It's your adventure. I'm just here for the ride. You do make it to the public square, going through a bunch of wrecked buildings. The air around here, it's very Roman, like the architecture. It's very decadent. I mean, everything has been wasted by time, but even now, some of the gold like shines through the dirt and decay of these places, and the marble is still there and beautiful. It has an eerie feeling as the wind rushes through, and it just whistles across some of these through some of these structures, and it just seems so dead and like there is like a negative aura around all this. You feel like bad things happened here and a lot of people died. I mean, a lot of you do see bones occasionally if you know a great battle, but when you get to the public square, it's where things really come to a head. It's bright, breezy, opened. Massive gibbets stand tall in center of the square. Dozens of pig-faced giants, easily 10 to 15 feet tall, sway. Their desiccated corpses sway in the breeze. There are hundreds of pickaxes that are scattered around the square or lodged into nearby walls, windows, pillars, everything. It's like just it almost like this is a bit of like a memorial, like all those miners just like dropped or slammed their pickaxe wherever they were when it ended. There is a large wooden beam above the gibbets that bears a carved epitaph: "Bosses beware, cross us if you dare."
These giants that are swinging, like their desiccated corpses swinging. Did you say they have pig heads?
They are pig face. I can send you a picture. I found a really great picture.
We're loving them. Has anything we have passively heard them referred to as the big men repeatedly? Is there anything
the boss men?
The boss men.
Yeah.
Is there anything that makes us think these are boss men?
Oh yeah, they're pigs.
Yeah, you get the idea that these are probably the boss men that people keep on talking about. Like, and there's some reference that Nana said. All right, and that's the image.
Yeah, they look just like my bosses up at the mill.
Yeah, bossmen everywhere.
Hold on, I worked for this guy.
Yeah.
Donnie's not sure if he means that literally or if it's just like
wow.
spot on.
So west, there is a shattered door. Like right outside this main square, there is a shattered door, like a large building that leads, and you can see mining offices right above it. Going north, you see a pretty wide open path towards a large building. Maybe this town's version of like a town hall, or wherever they have their government placed. But it is a very large and ornate building.
Let's head up that way.
Yeah, I like the looks of that.
All right, you go towards the Forgotten Foyer, and I have another map that I can share with you guys. More descriptive, but it is maybe good to have so you guys can keep an eye on where we are. And we're steaming through this. We might actually finish.
On the big rock candy mountain. Da, 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 da. It's my own version of that. I know y'all were probably like, like, oh, was that him playing the audio on stream?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So you are in T9, the Forgotten Foyer. It's dusty, musty, and bright as the doors are wide open. Strange noises echo around the room. Fear begins to creep up your spine. A hole in the roof floods the room with sunlight. There are piles of clothing, broken weapons, and smashed armor that litter the ground. A brass plaque hangs over the large central doors and states, "Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair."
What do we think?
Let's.
Going in there?
I mean, there's stew and whiskey outside.
Yeah, we might be light enough where we can shoot here.
I mean, I don't want to be impolite if we need to look on this person's work. I mean, I don't really want to despair, but I mean, I'm happy to take a peek.
I ain't ye mighty. That don't describe me at all.
Yeah.
As you have you entered into the building? Or are you still in the Forgotten kind of like the foyer area?
I think we were in the foyer having this conversation about
as you're having this back and forth, those piles of broken weapons and armor begin to rumble and shake, and out from them burst three. I call them peg leg coppers. To you, they would look like very strange, weird. Amalgamate, almost automatons, and I'll take another picture. More public domain artwork that won the day for my adventure.
Well.
Peg leg copper, and these are from the story, of course. The cops with peg legs.
As long as we run,
Yeah, they are very slow. They are not at. I made their decks very low. But yeah, they burst through. If you all could make deck saves to see who goes first, and I will try and get.
Yes.
No. Even if I had good stats, the way I've been rolling, I would not be.
You're like, could we play a rollover game?
Yeah,
please?
yeah, that would be beautiful.
D20 is good.
Who succeeded?
I did.
All right, the people that succeeded, there are three of these like wooden automatons in front of you. I've just labeled them 1, 2, and 3. They're both equidistant in front of you from these piles. Whichever one you prefer to attack first, you may.
I mean, I'm just gonna run past them to the inside, I guess, at this point.
Okay. You run past, and that would put you.
Good luck, Donnie.
Yeah, good luck. That puts you into the strange hall. It's dusty, cool, and dim. The smell of fresh blood lingers in the air. There's a stained glass window shining odd colored light into the hallway. It shows a scene of a many-eyed star shining down on a man. A human woman stands frozen and ethereal in the middle of the hallway. To the west, there is a silver door. To the east is a gilded oak door. And to the southwest is a looks to be like a sturdy iron door. And of course, south is where you came in. All
Great.
right.
This is a way better place. What are y'all doing outside?
I'm gonna try and smash one of these guys just to see.
All right.
Take a measure of what we're dealing with here.
Go ahead and
with
roll your
my-
damage.
my smasher, and that's 6 points.
6 points of damage. That is a heavy hit. You can hear the crunch and smashing of like the wood and like the little bit of bits of metal that kind of keep everything together. It is going to need to make a save. It does save. Oh, it fails. Yeah, no, it fails because it's a roll under. What am I doing? It fails. I was about to say, oh god, not 20. No. You immediately smash it and just basically bursts into springs and chunks of wood and ephemeral crap. But the peg leg copper number 1 is destroyed. There's 2 of them left. There's 2 of you by, so each one of you is going to get attacked by 1. So I will go Donnie first. It is going to do 6 points of damage, Donnie. And then to Elgyle, that one is going to do 5 points of damage.
All right, so if that is 2 more than I have HP, I make a strength save.
Even
Yeah,
with your armor?
It's exactly as much HP with my armor, actually. So I'm at 0.
So you're at 0. I think you still need to make a save. Well, do you need to make a save? And I don't think you need to make a save then. I think you're fine.
The next damage I will.
Yeah, if you get hit again, it's basically like it's sundered your armor.
Yeah.
You or not even sundered your armor. It's just like it caught you unaware, and now the next hit, if it makes a hit, is going to like hit true, and it's going to like actually do some damage to your body. All right, it is back to y'all. I guess Tony, do you want to do anything while you're inside this main hallway?
I'm slowly walking towards the ethereal woman in the middle while all the insanity outside is happening.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna run in on my turn to where Thatch is.
Okay, yeah, you walk up to the woman and she's human, she seems alive, but she seems to be stuck. She's not like turned to stone or anything, but there's this light, just little bit of like aura or haze around her, like she has been stuck in time. She's wearing clothing that is like very much not of this time or place. It is like a gown of some kind.
Okay.
It's hard to place exactly how long she's been here. Maybe she's been here the entire time. Who knows? But she seems to be frozen in time.
Okay.
All right. Elgyle, what are you going to do? Because you go before them, I believe.
Yeah. Let's just keep at him. See if we can continue our streak of luck here. Yeah, jump onto number 2 and smash him for 4 points.
4 points. And then Donnie went after the monster, so you ran into the room on your previous turn.
Me?
Yeah, I did.
Or Don?
Yeah.
Don.
So you see the same thing. You see Thatch kind of approaching this ethereal, ephemeral looking woman. You kind of like through the doorway, maybe partway down the hall. You do hear the sounds of battle behind you as you walk this thing on Elgyle. It is now there.
All we got to do is run.
Yeah.
End of the song. They brought us here.
It's their turn
true.
again. I'm going to
That is true.
say peg leg copper number 3, seeing you dash through, is going to chase you down, Donnie, and is going to attempt. Well, it does attack you for 4 points of damage. And then the other one is going to attack Elgyle, the peg leg 2 that you've already damaged, and it does 4 points of damage to you.
Ooh, that takes me to 0. Yep.
So you're fine, but you will have to roll a save for future damage. And then Donnie will need to roll for, I believe it is a strength save.
Wait, I will have to?
Yeah, so you got hit for a couple of points of damage.
They came into the...
Yeah, they
Followed
followed
you in. Saw you run through and then followed.
Okay.
I didn't want to dump all the attacks on it.
I just want y'all to know right now I have 10 hit points.
I have 4. What is going on?
Did you not get temporary hit points from resting and eating the fruit?
Oh, how many?
It was a
Could have been a
D4, right?
D4.
D4.
I did not do that. it would have been 4 extra. So how much damage did I just?
You would have
take?
took 4, so you'd still be you'd be at 0 now. Would be where you would be.
Now I'm at 0 officially.
Okay, yeah, so that works out. All right, it is now back to your turn. We'll say Tony first. You're in front of this frozen woman.
While Donnie's getting stabbed behind me.
Yeah, you hear like the sounds of your friends getting
So
like,
is she in something, or is she literally just frozen in time?
It just seems like she is frozen in time.
How is she
doesn't seem to be
posed?
I think I actually have a picture.
Excellent. And is there? And I guess I'll look around a little bit. Is there anything about the stained glass window, the iconography on the architecture that like suggests anything about why this woman is in the middle of this room?
The iconography of the window seems to be somewhat possibly adjacent to something like the Venerable Host, but it does seem to maybe paint the story of like the first person to make a deal and become a boss man. That's what you get. It does not seem to have an effect necessarily on the woman. You don't see like any like magic coming from it and coating her.
No, but there's not like a woman frozen in time etched on the wall either.
No,
right?
There's nothing like that. Her pose is like she's mid walk and she just like heard something and she's like mid turn.
Okay.
Like she was walking, she was almost like maybe half running, heard something, and that's probably what happened. Like when she was frozen, like mid turn, like seeing whoever did it to her.
I'm gonna just reach out and take her hand.
It's still warm. It doesn't move though. It doesn't. It doesn't seem like she seems. Well, actually, no, she's not warm at all. She seems like super cold. Like it's almost like touching ice when you touch her fingers. And like when you feel the warmth of your fingers like dissipate into her hand, you see just she's kind of got this pale aura. You just see like the barest glimmer of like healthy kind of like skin tone return. But the second your fingers go completely cold and numb, like it disappears.
Okay. Cool. That's all I do right now.
In the background. Donnie, you go after. So you would have maybe, we're kind of doing things out of sorts. Sorry, Donnie, you would have gone technically before Tony. So what were you doing as you ran in?
Well, I guess the one that's trying to stab me in the back, I'll whip around and smack it with my mace.
All right.
Or axe. No, I have an axe, not a mace. Same D8, but
one does chopping damage.
Yeah, that's a 2 of chop.
2 of chop. You take off a big old lump of a piece of the like wooden armor that it seems to be wearing. It's still up and about and working. Elgyle,
I will do the smash.
Smash.
That is 6 points of smash.
Woo! 6 points of smash. It is going to roll. And it just crumples underneath it. It rolled a 16. It just shatters underneath. You had a mace, or was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just again smashing through it just turns into tinder underneath the weight of your mace. There's one left, and it is right next to Donnie. It is going to try and give Donnie a bit of the business for 1 point of damage. It was a bad roll. It just kind of like smacks you across the cheek. It meant to do like a full-on bash, but it just didn't quite close the distance enough to Donnie. All right. So Donnie, did you need to roll a save for that, Adam?
Yeah.
Have you been using your armor on each of the?
If you have armor, you're fine. Actually, never mind.
Oh, it was 2 under.
It was. I rolled a 1, so it literally just kind of like punched you in the chest and just kind of glanced off the chainmail. It is your turn now, though, because they just went.
Yep, I'll continue. I mean, this is just a hack. This is just a hackathon back and forth.
It's wood. You have an axe. We all knew this was coming.
That's a 4.
Oh, perhaps. 4. That is a solid hit. It needs to roll its save. And it fails. Rolled a 14, and with a 13, because of the damage you did, it is now above that. So it again, just you chop it in half, and it just kind of like slams into the ground. Mm-hmm. Everything is now eerily quiet as it is. The wood settles to the ground.
I thought you were supposed to be able to run away from these jagoffs.
Not every story is true, I guess.
And I turn around and I go, were you not?
He caught up to me. I guess I'm not. I guess I ain't fast enough.
Wow. Yeah.
Stabs right in the back.
So I found her.
This person.
And you said there's a silver door, an iron door, and an oak door.
Yes, there is a silver door to the west. To the east is a gilded oak door. And there is what looks to be like an iron door to the southwest. It does look like it has a rather large lock on it.
Okay.
And of course, there is the large brass doors to the south where you came from.
Yeah. The silver door, does it look like it has a lock on it, or does it look unlocked?
None of the other doors look locked.
Okay.
There's a door for each of us, is what I'm hearing. Let's get this.
I'm
gonna take the oak door.
Okay.
I'm intrigued by the one at the northwest. I think it's the silver one.
I'll take the iron door.
So we'll go in the order that we did that. So the gilded oak door, it opens into the obscene abattoir. Warm, damp, and gross. The air is thick with the smell of blood, death, and despair. You see 4 human adventurers strapped to stone slabs, unconscious. You see a creepy crawly half made on the central slab, and you see what looks to be a large black book. Sorry, a large black book sitting on a pedestal just to the side of the central slab.
These adventurers, are they dead? Are they clearly dead? Or are they?
You can see that their chests are moving up and down slightly. They're unconscious. One of them looks to be like a mailman.
Oh, he's here. All right. The obvious solution is to sprint up and hack the book with my axe. The book is the problem.
I mean,
cut it in half. Cut it up.
Maybe, yeah.
And books.
You run up and slam your axe into the book. Roll damage.
Okay. Where did my D8?
And remember, paper is made of wood, so it's highly susceptible to this axe.
That's it. That's a 2.
It hits and there's a thud, but when you bring up your axe, there's maybe a slight crease into the leather that forms this, but it seems to not have been really affected by your attack.
Okay.
And when you look, I'll have a little descriptor of it. It's a large tome. It's open currently, and it seems to be filled with a bunch of writing that is this kind of crimson color. You do get the sense that there is a lot of magic coming from it.
Start ripping the pages out.
You try to rip, and it just you rip out a page, and then as your hand comes away from it, page in hand, you look at the page in your hand, it's gone, and it's back in the book.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it would take something pretty powerful to destroy this. It's protected by something.
Can I grab it?
Yeah, you can pick it up.
Can I move it away from this room?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to launch it into the previous hallway.
You throw it into the previous hallway. As you guys are looking at these doors, out through the oaken doors comes this. I mean, it's one of those epically large tomes that you see in some of the movies. We're just slamming into the wall with this loud thud and then hits the ground. So as you're doing that, I believe somebody was going to look at the silver door.
If that was the one to the northwest, yeah.
Yes. So you look upon the silver door and you are overcome with just a little bit of dread as your hand touches the knob and you open it. It's dark inside. It's dim, humid, and just the air is thick with fear. It smells of death and mold, and you can hear just whispering. From what dim light is with all the candles inside this room, you can see that there are arcane scribbles and rants just covering every bit of this wall. 12 candles in the center fill the room with a dim orange yellow light. You see a bunch of experiments and books and spoiled food all over the floor. And in the center of the room, amongst all the candles, you see a pig-faced giant breathing heavily and wheezing. I've been expecting you.
Slowly walk backwards and close the door.
Close the door. Going to the iron door. It does seem to be, in fact, locked. In front of it, on top of it, you see a little plaque that says Armory. And it does seem to be locked.
Yeah, I assumed. I just thought it was really funny for me to pick the iron door because it was locked.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all go to explore the new unknown spaces. I will. I'll go this door. Yeah, I go back over and I pick up the book that flew out of the room.
What you have in your hands is an arcane tome. You can imagine. I'll say that you're kind of a spelly person because you have a book. This seems to be a really powerful spell tome, and I'll read the description. It is the Wretched Grimoire. It has 2 charges. It's a spell book that contains 3 spells: Raise Dead, Raise Spirit, and Ooze Form. If a charge is expended, you can turn a corpse into a flesh construct. Using the Wretched Grimoire slowly corrupts the user. To recharge it, you must write in the book with the blood of a freshly killed innocent.
Okay, so the 3 spells were Raise Dead,
Raise Dead, Raise Spirit, and Ooze Form,
Ooze
which are
someone.
in Cairn. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very powerful.
What does Ooze Form do?
Ooh, let me look that up. Let's see here. That is in Ziploc. Ooze Form. Ooze Form. You become a living jelly.
For how is there a length of time? I'm trying to remember how spellcasting works in Cairn.
Spellcasting is pretty wishy-washy in Cairn. It's more like just hey, you just however long you wanted to be in ooze, probably less than a day, I would imagine, and then you get all the benefits. So you could like slip into cracks.
Awesome.
You could maybe
excellent
do some extra attacks or something like that.
No, that's all great.
Somebody.
I pick it up, I read through it real quick. I cast Ooze Form on myself.
You turn yourself into. You are now a sentient pile of ooze.
Cool. Does it happen automatically?
Yeah, I think
you just spin the charge, right? Yeah.
I think you're casting spells.
I go through the lock in the door to the iron, through the lock in the iron door.
Oh, okay. You do have to cast. So you do have to take on 1 fatigue.
That's fine.
When you cast a spell, so you go through the lock. That is a really good idea. Inside, it is a bit of an embarrassment of riches when it comes to adventuring. There is a skeleton that sits on the chest of. A skeleton sits on chests of treasure, a gold crown on their head. There are wall racks with various weapons. You see 3 bombs, 2 shells. You see 2 shields, 1 helmet. You see heavy armor. You see a couple of spears, a couple of maces, a couple halberds, and then 1 random relic, which I will roll right now.
This is where all the specific goods that never made it back down the mountains. And
yep.
So
you see a vial of what looks it's kind of like it looks like a jug of whiskey, but it's a metal container. And the metal is like this emblazoned gold. It seems like it might be a very fancy whiskey.
Excellent. I am going to unlock the door from the inside and open it.
All right, you open it. You open up the door. So it's much like I said. So there's a couple of bombs in there, a couple of shells, shields, helmets, random armor, which I said is heavy armor, like plate mail. There's a couple of spears, a couple of maces, a couple of halberds, and then a couple of large traps. And of course, that like gold emblazoned bottle of booze.
Okay. I'm going to pick up that golden blazing bottle of booze for sure. I guess I'm just going to start gear swapping for better stuff also too.
So what you have in your hands is Sweet Shine, and I will read the description and copy it real quick. It's kind of a pretty great item. It's
and walk back out fully bedecked. 3 gold, with rare herbs, rare magic.
Guys, there's a boss man in that room, and they're big. They're real big. Like
So yeah, Thatch comes out like fully armored, helmet, shield, has like a bunch of shells, has like 3 shells to put in the shotgun thing that she has.
There's a guy waiting for you in the other room there if you want to.
Yeah. And then there's bombs and stuff in there also. It's a pretty slick way to go.
I do love the idea of just each of us getting a bomb.
Yeah.
And just opening that silver door, tossing them in, and then closing it again.
I fully support that plan.
Let's do it.
All right, that's the plan then.
Hey, I found.
Are you still? I guess you're out of ooze form.
I stopped ooze forming. Yes, once I was through the door.
You stopped ooze form. When you come out of ooze form, you have all your materials back. The book is still in your hands, and man, that was honestly perfect use of the book. You're smart, you're good, and like this book belongs to you, and you're better for it.
I love this book.
Yeah, this book is great. And if anybody else tries to get their stupid hands on it, they might lose a hand.
The good news is Donnie doesn't touch this stuff, and I mostly trust Elgin, and so like we're fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else will get demolished by me if they try to
dealt with.
Yeah.
Do any of you want to check out the wrecked armory and pick up anything?
Yeah, let's grab those bombs, grab a shield, grab a helmet, grab whatever we need.
Yeah, I'll say there's enough. You can completely deck yourself out in armor. I think the max you can get from armor is like 3.
It is 3, yeah.
It's 3. So you can just assume that you have 3 on armor. And if you want a better weapon, like say a D8, it's probably in there.
Yeah.
Even a D10, but that might be bulky depending on all the stuff that you're carrying.
Yeah. Yeah, so we go over to the silver door.
Yeah, if you brought, could somebody just bring me a bomb and a helmet?
Yeah, for sure. And then like knock on the door, open the door, throw the bombs in.
On 3.
Close the door.
So 3 bombs go in. Go ahead and roll the damage.
Are these bombs D10?
I believe bombs are D10s.
2.
It's 2.
6.
6. 7. That is
nice.
A healthy amount of damage. Lessened somewhat. And then there's just like dead silence.
I think we got him, guys. I think we got him.
The ground starts to shake slightly, almost imperceptibly at first. And you hear like rumbling behind the silver door. And then, almost as like you guys are starting to take a couple steps, it bursts open. And I'm going to need what is he gonna do? There's a lot of things. I'm just gonna say he goes first because you guys he's going to do a searing bolt at Thatch.
At Thatch? What has Thatch ever done?
His hand begins to glow, and there's just arcing ray of crimson comes from it. And you take 5 points of damage, lessened by however much armor that you have. And then
do helmets add armor, or do they use a different function?
I believe our helmets add armor, but you can only get up to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, even if you have other things that would take you over that, 3 is the maximum amount of damage reduction.
Yeah, 3 is the like you could I think there's a way to finagle like 4 or 5.
You can get 5 total, yeah, but it's 3 is the maximum amount of reduction. That's fine.
Yeah. So he's going to cast a spell. He's going to cast Shield upon himself. Basically protecting himself from mundane damage. Does it give a time limit? It is back to your turns.
Oh, mundane damage, you mean the type of damage we all do?
You guys have the potential of magic damage, like the boomstick, I believe, does magic damage.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, I've got a boomstick now. I use that.
It is back to y'all's turn. Is it protected for a minute? There's like a silvery aura encompasses. You have Those are wrong. You could have been my implements of destruction. We could have worked together.
I do 9 damage.
Nah.
I shoot the boomstick and do 9 damage.
Just passes through. He needs to make a save for if we're doing 9 damage. Dang. Well, actually, no, he's saved. You can see that the boom, like some of it's blocked by the aura, but there's like the magic pellets are just zip through and just, and you see a bunch of like his form begin to like kind of like convulse a little bit. He's still up and at him, but only just barely. Like we haven't gotten into saves yet. You foul creature. It's the rest of yours turn.
I've got a net, and I think I would like to toss that on him to see if we can just bind him up for a minute.
I have grease, so maybe I can
I love this.
grease up the floor while you're throwing the net.
Yeah.
All right, so you the net, technically not a weapon, just kind of like he's like, what? And it just passes through. Is there any rules for net? Maybe
There's not.
I'll do a dex save for net to see if he's caught up in it. Oh, okay. So it falters him for a second, but he's able to like kind of like claw it off himself. And you said you're going to do grease?
Yeah.
All right, so you can throw some grease underneath his feet, and it just like slides underneath the shield. I'll say he has to do another dex save or be tripped up. He manages to like hold his ground. The grease is still underneath him, but he's not slipped up currently. I'll say that
we'll just stay back till the shield dissipates.
It is now his turn again. All of you have acted, I believe. I'm going to roll randomly to see who gets this.
I mean, I am also happy to just be attacked because I am the one who actually did damage to him last round.
Elgyle, I need you to make a will save.
Mm-hmm. 4 under 15. That will do it. Yeah.
For just a half a second, you feel like, you know what? It'd be really cool if I stabbed Thatch. And then like you're just like, no, that's nonsense. I'm not going to do that. Bossman is then going to attack Thatch with one of its attacks, the Searing Bolt. That fell out of the thing for 8 points of damage.
I mean, that sucks, but I'm fine. I'm still fine, actually.
Just and it like blasts off a big chunk of the armor that you're wearing.
Yeah.
We could have ruled together. I could have given you all of my power. And then it's your guys' turn again.
Last thing I have is rope, and so I would like to just start. I don't know if I'm like tying it off to something, and then I want to run around its legs, which might be a two round situation.
You wanna.
I mean, I could probably teamwork that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you don't toss it to me, we'll grab each end.
That's
all right. You have the rope. If I'll say that it can just happen, and then I will roll because there's already grease on the ground underneath. Mm-hmm. I will roll a dex save with disadvantage. I'll take the lower or the higher of the two. I guess with this would be the proper one.
Yeah.
12. He does fail, so you trip him up. I'll say that you trip him up, and he's going to take. I'll tell you, so he takes 1 point of damage, bringing him down a little bit. And I will say, instead of being able to do his attack and one of his extra things, he only gets to do one or the other.
Cool. I shoot the boomstick straight into his face now that he's hit the ground, and I do 8 damage.
Oh my god!
So this is why
all right, that's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. All right, let me roll the save because he has to make a save.
That's what Pittsburgh Steel gets you.
Ooh, rolled a 3 though, so he's still safe. But like as you blow, like he's on the ground, kind of like flailing a little bit, and then you walk over. You see a bunch of like flesh, and like his face kind of like torn up, and his clothes get blasted off. Oh, stop, please! We could work something out. Maybe some stock options. It is. Did everybody go?
Yeah, because we did the rope trick.
Oh, you did the rope trick together. It is back to their turn. Well, I know what spell he's about to use, and it's teleport. He's on the ground flailing. He teleports. You do know that teleport is not a very long distance spell. There's a 50-foot radius, I believe. So you can hear like a crash in the room, but where he came from, and you can hear like scrambling as he is trying to get up, or they're trying to get up. What would you like to do?
I would like to shoot him one more time.
Yeah, running man, boom.
Yeah, let's bust in there and fuck him
All
up.
right, you run in. He's like trying to scramble up, trying to like get behind some cover. Go ahead and roll your damage.
7.
Jeez. Technically speaking, there is a chance that he will survive. Very low. How would you like to do this?
How would I like to do this? I would like to shoot him in the face. I think as we get in there and he is getting up, and I think he slips on the grease that's already on the bottom of his feet because he's already tied up, and we see him like falling towards me at the door, and his face getting larger and larger, and then I shoot him point blank in the face, and like I end up standing essentially in a hole that it has blown through the back of his throat.
Yeah, so he just kind of bursts open a little bit, and you're standing surrounded by him. Yeah, you defeated the final boss man.
And I'm sorry, what were the rules? What were the rules for recharging the book?
You need to I believe you needed to write into the book with the blood of somebody freshly slain.
Yeah, I'm gonna
killed innocent. I don't know if he classifies as innocent.
Boss man counts.
Yeah, I don't think it counts as
I
innocent.
mean, in his defense, we did show up in his house and just murder.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I suppose. So we can, I mean, if you guys want, we can end here. I will say, like, as that happens, as the boss man is killed, you do hear, like, from the hall where the ephemeral woman is like, hello, is anybody here?
I think that's a great place to stop then.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game we just played and talk about that game. Today we just played through the Adventure Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain. We did a classic +1 EXP speed run, made it all the way to the top of the mountain and defeated the big boss for something that feels like you literally could spend like probably a dozen sessions playing around, and if you wanted to go wide and explore, or do what we did and just speedrun it all, yeah,
you can. I was surprised that this. I mean, a lot of it was just fate. Like getting the gear was so random, and then I probably gave a lot more lore when you guys talked, because I didn't. There's no chance for repeat business. It's not like you guys are going to come back to town, next session. Right. So I was a little more with the lore on it. And also, like, I gave out a lot more magical weapons that is prescribed in this. I was like, this is a one shot. Everybody gets a magic thing. So
also, we found the mailman, which is the most important thing.
We did find the mailman, yeah.
This is really all about the mailman.
No, I'd have blast. For people who are just joining us, Ryan, tell people a little about who you are, what you do, and about the mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain.
All right, so I am Ryan Mossbarger. I go by Run DMG on my social media. I make a lot of memes and I make a lot of funny content. I also do like the occasional like thinky piece of content on of content or like of video. But I love tabletop RPGs. I'm a tabletop RPG collector, and it's been a dream of mine for a long time to start making adventures. And I recently, after I got into the odd about 8 months ago, maybe a little bit before that, I just fell in love with the book, and I knew that this was an adventure. That this was a style of game that I could easily make an adventure for, because like 5e, there's this whole guide of how to like construct things and like put things together, and there's like word guides and all this guide. It was like, for whatever writer I am, that puts me in my place and I can't do it. But using some inspiration from things like a Morkborg adventure, which is like Rot Black Sludge, and the adventures that are in the adventure that is Into the Odd, I was able to like take that and really easily put it to making adventures. So I made an adventure for Into the Odd called New Rats and Old Bastion. And then when there was this Cairn jam that came out recently. I decided that this would be a perfect opportunity to try something not necessarily large, super big, but something more than just a one shot, because the new Rats and Old Bastion was basically just an intro adventure. I really wanted just like, it was a one shot. You could probably run it in an hour, hour and a half if you wanted to. And this, I wanted something a little beefier, something that you can really sit in. And the idea of having like, you know, a forest, because the whole, the setup for the Cairn Jam was it's a town, a forest, a dungeon, and there was going to be like a hex. Potentially, I was really interested in doing a hex crawl, because I've done a few hex crawls, but I've never made a hex crawl. So I wanted that experience as well, and I wanted to make it something unique and different. And I think Cairn really lends to that, the aesthetic that Cairn has, and the openness to it. So I wanted something different that I hadn't seen before, and I have not seen a lot of Appalachian-inspired adventures, and that's where I grew up, in Western North Carolina in Appalachia, with and I really wanted to make like a love letter to it in certain ways, and really bring in some of the bits of history and some of the myth. So the thing that you guys came across, those gray people, they were called moon-eyed folk, or moon-eyed people, and those, they're not like the biggest piece of like Appalachian folklore, but they are like a piece in there, like a little Easter egg. There's a wampus cat. You guys are actually followed by a wampus cat for a little while. There is a few other things, like lightning bears. Like I've heard, you know, when I was a kid, there was a, you know, you hear stories about like moonshiners and stuff like that back in the day. And you hear about moonshining today. And one of the things that can, a lot of, you know, people like my neighbors would talk about that like ruined their run was like, if a bear finds your mash before it goes like fully alcoholic, they'll eat it. And then you have a drunk bear to deal with that might still be around. And then they ate all of your product. So that was something I wanted to bring in. And then I wanted, you know, there's some media on Appalachian stuff where, you know, like hillbilly elegy, what people talk about a lot, which has a really negative connotation for people in Appalachia. It really shows them to be like, you know, at their worst. And honestly, you know, for all their problems, you know, of course, I have a very narrow case being who I am, but like I found them to be a warm and loving people. And I really wanted to make something, you know, kind of a love letter to that. I also made, there's actually somebody asked me to do a Spotify list for this. So there is a Spotify playlist. I completely forgot to mention, we could have been playing in the background, I suppose, but you know, it's just full of bluegrass and country music, and like, you know, from like cool progressive people that I really enjoy, because you know, there is like this image of like Southerners and Appalachians, like these backwards kind of narrow people. And it's really, you know, there's people of all sorts in Appalachia that are just kind of stuck there, and they've had a lot of issues. A lot of things that make this town what it is today is not from their own doing, but the doing of like larger powers outside of themselves. So I really wanted to play with a lot of themes and see what stuck. Maybe a little bit too much. It was hard doing this. It's like 43 pages for my second adventure. So
42 pages, and like the style of play, right? Like old school play, Cairn, down we go into the odds, right? Like all these games let the emergent narrative kind of grow and wrap, and what players do really does matter. Like obviously we were like, we're getting up there, right?
and we're going up there.
But like, you know, the reality is, as we saw, like we had a lot of really good early encounters where we're smart and basically jumped something and killed it. Because once you get into combat, Cairn is you can go south pretty quick. So like it is deadly. There was a lot of luck of that. I had a great time. Let's hear from our other players what they thought. Adam, let's start with you. Donnie was delightful. My favorite
great.
PCs have ever loved the yins getting brought in on the north end of Appalachia also too. Why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to explore the mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain?
Yeah, I am Adam Bell, and I make games. You can find them at adamebell.games. They're pretty good. They're nothing like this kind of stuff. I'm usually not a like traditional game player, which is why I like to jump in on these, because it's just nice to do something you don't normally do. So for me, it was really just a lot of, you know, jumping back into playing a character, going on a little adventure, and then also, in our case, the one shot of like not caring what happens to him.
Yeah.
Just have him chug those cigarettes and we'll see what happens. But overall, yeah, I really did enjoy it. I liked the flavor of it. I like the, you know, taking the bizarre things in that song and taking them 1,000 years later and seeing what happens to the stew lake and just everything. All the flavor of it is really enjoyable.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any questions you wanted to ask, Ryan?
I don't know if I do.
Okay, and if you come up with one, let us know. But otherwise, thanks for playing with us, Mark. How about you?
Yeah, I'm Mark. You can find all my stuff at major@majcher.com. I also design games, play games, stream stuff, and like Adam, I primarily play. Although I have a deep love and history of playing more traditional dungeony types of things, I mostly don't play those these days. So it's when I get a chance to jump into something like this, I jump on it. So yeah, I had a great time. Definitely the compressed timeline we just sort of bolted through. We got to see a lot and experience a lot of the what's in there. And I'm usually not a huge fan of lore dumps, but this was it was really cool and very thoughtfully put together. I think you clearly have a deep love and understanding of the material and whatnot. It's not just your standard there was random D&D stuff. It was unique and very compelling, I thought. And this is definitely something I would have loved to spend a dozen episodes kind of exploring. Yeah, great stuff. Good time.
But yeah, I'll have to send out free copies to everybody and make sure you have them.
Oh, sweet.
And did you have any questions, Mark?
What are you working on next?
So I have a couple of things that I want to try. So as I'm basically starting into the odd and doing the permutations. So there is a follow-up for New Rats and Old Bashing because it kind of ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. So I do want to do a follow for that, and I've kind of got that halfway. There is a Mouse Ritter Christmas adventure that I really want to make. So I just a few weeks ago, I went to a friend's lake house in Wisconsin. They were getting married there. And they had this it used to be an old farmhouse that was on this lake. So it has the most interesting layout and has a great sized lawn with a bunch of tree stumps and everything. And I was like, this would be the perfect place for a Mouse Ritter campaign. The inside, there's they have one of those big long grandfather clocks, Wizard's Tower right there. That would be perfect. So I took pictures and I took scans of everything. Nice. So the idea is that there's going to be a wintertime adventure where the lake's frozen over. There's some stuff going on in the backyard. And then there's maybe a Nutcracker Christmas type thing. So those are going to be the two things I'm working on. And then if I can get around to it, I have an idea for a mothership adventure for Halloween, but we'll see what happens.
Nice. Very cool.
Love it. I had a blast. I really enjoyed it. I love when people take something that matters to them and explore it thematically, or create a space to explore it thematically through play. I loved the overlap, and I do think some of this is play brought in, but I think it's the design also. You've designed this in a this is, hey, we've transplanted Appalachia into a fantasy world. Maybe this is 1,000 years in the future. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just an alternate, fantasy world that you want to do. There's kingdoms abroad. There's things here. There's the king damming off the lake, right? That's such a great piece and the type of thing we actually saw from the federal government to parts of Appalachia in order to force laborers and workers in there. You were never heavy-handed about you were oh, the battlements face in and out, and I was like, that sounds like a prison, right? And then the concrete element also too, those types of things. And again, if we were playing on an extended campaign, I'd be poking around at I want to meet the pumpkin people, and I know they don't want to come out, but this is obviously a place where workers were exploited and probably indentured, if not just a prison that was engaging in the prison industrial. There's all these things that are really great there. Up to we're in this giant sky city fighting giant pig-faced people, and you don't go talk to the old woman in a town unless you want to lore dump. That's what I'm going to go say. You don't. I mean, when players are saying dump lore on me, that's the time for a lore dump, right? And I think you did it, and you hit it a couple different ways to reinforce themes, but through a couple different voices that all made a whole lot of sense. But I also just love that the three of us as players were immediately hey, we want to go see the pumpkin people and then go to Nana's hut, right? Because
Yeah.
those are the two. You said a lot of cool places. Those are the two that like are going to move us forward and that we really want to know about. So I thoroughly enjoyed having that. We're going to do an inventory management video on the full resource. I didn't read it beforehand because I didn't want to get any spoilers, but I am super actually excited to sit down and kind of dig through it. I think my big question is really just a little bit more like you were doing encounters, right? So did you create this as a hex crawl? Like, is it a certain amount of encounters per hex? Are there encounters as you go from one hex to the other? Like, what is the actual kind of mechanical back end for a GM who's running this?
I had a heavy influence from a Morkborg adventure. I'm blanking out. It's one in the little zines they put out recently. It's like, I can't remember. I'll find it in a second. But basically, so every time you move a hex, you have a forest mystery that's rolled. So basically, what is the theme of the hex that you're in, like the little area that you find? So there's 10 possibilities, and of course you can always add more. And then you can choose to search the forest or just walk through the forest. If you search the forest, you can either, it's some good, some bad, some neutral. So some things are just for flavor. There's a chance you can run into traps. There's a chance that maybe you'll run into some treasure, maybe something, you'll roll an additional event. And then every time you enter into hex, regardless of whether you search it or not, a random event happens. Nothing happens, going all the way up to you guys at the far end of the scale encountering the creepy crawly, which is a little bit easier than it normally would be, because its HP is at 8 and its strength is 10 instead of the normal amount that it usually is, which is quite a bit higher, because it just like got through a fight with the stag, and it also recently had a fight with whatever put the cog in it. So yeah, there's a couple of things that happen each time you roll into a hex. Which is kind of nice, and hopefully enough that they wouldn't necessarily get old. But it's, you can always add more things and permutate them as the hex crawl goes on.
No, I love it. It seemed really enjoyable. Love the use of public domain art as well. Like really enjoyable. So I had a blast. Like I said, we'll have more thoughts coming up on a stream or on a video review later on this month after I've got a chance to read it. If people want to find more of your work, what's the best place to find you and what you do?
You can find me on social media at RunDMG. It's some permutation of either RunDMG or DMG_run, depending on if I could get the tag or not. And if you want this adventure or you want anything else I've made, this is only like $2. It's on itch. I need to upload it at some point to drive through, but it's always a pain to upload through drive through. But this is on itch, and if you search for RunDMG, I should pop up there, or Ryan Mossberg. I think it both works. And then I have a couple of one-pagers on there as well. And then New Rats and Old Bastion is a free intro adventure for Into the Odd. It's gotten a lot of love. I think it's gotten over 500 downloads. So people seem to like it. And every time I talk to somebody who's played it, they seem to have a positive encounter. It's a very lighthearted, just weird. I try to just touch on little bits and pieces of Into the Odd, like central lore, and a good way to introduce like a completely new person to all the different facets of it. So there's just like a little touch of everything. That's cool. Well, I try to bring that in with Cairn as well.
Yeah. You can also go to the link that's in the video. It'll take you straight to the game, or it's ttrpg.link / what did he do? I can't even read it. It's the link right below that, but it also is linked to the description to the game. Mystery. I'm MOBRC.
Sorry,
adventure.
It's just so long for URL, so I put it down.
No, it's also we do a short link for everyone, but I couldn't tell what Johnny had made this one, and so our graphic designer. But it is Mystery on Big Rock Candy Mountain, just the first letter of each one, the highlighted one, plus an extra O. Until next time, we're just gonna wave at the camera until I take us offline.
Thank you all so much for playing. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.